Hello and welcome back to the Great Ace Attorney Resolve. Last we left off, I had finished up the investigation portion of episode, 4? I believe it should be. And so... we'll be getting into the trial today. Last time it crashed a bit early on. It just disappeared. I'm not sure what that was about. It only happened the one time. But hopefully it doesn't do that again. Not sure what caused it. Check my task manager. Visuals look okay. Earlier for either... oh yeah, I guess it would be doing that. Earlier, for whatever reason, Firefox was doing like 100% video decode for no reason. There were no videos playing. I ended the task in Task Manager and opened it back up, and it's not doing that now. I don't know what that was about. Alright. 2nd of November, 8:56 a.m., the Old Bailey Defendant's Antechamber. There's that old familiar feeling again. The crushing pressure of this historic courthouse. Actually, no, it's a little different today. There's an even more menacing tension in the air. There is a menacing tension in the air today, isn't there? I suppose. Yes, I think so. It can only be the result of the menacing appearance of the defendant. A little more courtesy, if you please. Oh, I do apologize. However, you're certainly not mistaken that this trial is far from ordinary. What do you mean? I'm not privy to the details, however. I understand that no jury has been selected. A trial without a jury? Well, that's just like the trial of the professor 10 years ago. A closed court. Good morning, my dear fellows. Mr. Sholmes. Have you made note of my hair, Mr. Naruhodo? Now tried a victory for science, you must agree. To be perfectly honest, so much happened yesterday that, well, I completely forgot about your little hair problem. What to one man is a little hair problem is to another a day of drinking dubious potion after dubious potion. You have no idea how my stomach ails me this morning. Oh dear, how awful for you. I'm afraid you only have yourself to blame, Mr. Jones. And good morning to you, Mr. Reaper. I'm delighted to see you looking so full of vim. I see London's celebrated great detective is as active as ever. Something's off about... I need to, do some sort of vocal warm-ups when I do things, because... And And I you. I see London's celebrated great detectives as active as ever. Oh, you exaggerate, my dear fellow. Compared to my paltry engagements with a few trivial cases, the Reaper's overbearing presence is a far greater deterrent to the black roots of crime in our capital. And whilst I may not agree with your methods, there is at least one point on which I would readily commend you. What an honor. And that would be your eye for a good lawyer, sir. Mr. Sholmes. After all, behind this lawyer there's a very great mind, my own. What are you trying to say? I wish only to say that you should be prepared for quite a trial, Mr. Reaper. Sorry to barge in. Who's this? Oh, you. Gina! What's that on her arm? It's the morning band, I suppose. Father! Shouldn't you be at the Synopsium? It's been postponed, so I have a little free time. I decided to come along with the police inspector to see our country's up-and-coming student in action. I shall be very interested to see the fruits of your studies over the past year. Well, it's an honor to have you here. Let's hope there are some fruits to see. Otto. Oh, yes, Gina. Why do you agree to this, huh? Why did you take him on? This Reaper bloke. Everyone says it was him what killed the boss. I'm sorry, Gina, but I just don't believe that. Well, if it weren't him, who was it? I don't know that yet. I don't care who calls him what. Reaper's just a name. He's a person at the end of the day. And if it turns out it was him what killed the boss, then God help him. Fiery eyes indeed. Yes, the culprit deserves every ounce of your loathing. At least, that may be some solace to this deceased. Ah. Please, Odo. Whoever did this for the boss. Oh, Gina. I feel it's useless, but there's nothing I can do. So you've got to find who done this and make the rich pay. Counsel for the defense and the defendant. Court will be in session shortly. Make your way into the courtroom at once, please. Alright then, here we go. It's time, Mr. Naruto. Lord Von Zeeks. One who lost his treasured brother to a mass murderer. One who lost his treasured father in a foreign court of law. And one who lost the man who helped her escape destitution. All that misfortune, all that pain, on course to collide headlong in this trial. It's time to shine a light on all these dark events. And whatever truth is revealed, we're going to have to look it straight in the eye. 22nd of November, 9:20 a.m. The Old Bailey courtroom. There's a train going by. Somewhere. I know 2 areas the train track is. I'm not sure which one it is. Ugh. In the name of Her Majesty the Queen, I hereby declare this court to be in session. We are here to conduct a fair and just trial of the defendant, Barak van Zieks. Counsels for the defense and prosecution, are you ready to begin?
The defense is ready, my lord.
Okay, there is still an audience, it looks like. Just not a jury. Odd. Prosecution is more than ready.
Oh, Kazuma-sama. I've been wishing to see you in court again for so long. It feels... But I never pictured it happening like this. I never thought I'd be facing you behind the prosecutor's bench.
The so-called Reaper of the Bailey has been a scourge like no other scourge, undermining Her Majesty's justice system. Today, we must uncover the truth behind the scourge.
In other words, this trial is going to be a lot more far-reaching than Inspector Gregson's murder.
The truths revealed by these proceedings may have unpredictable repercussions through the judiciary. Accordingly, they are to be conducted as a closed trial, with no members of the public present.
There's someone in there.
By Her Majesty's direct orders.
Maybe these aren't the public?
Maybe there are other assorted officials?
How will that work, my lord?
The burden of all arbitration and adjudication falls on my shoulders. Therefore, as you will see, the juror's bench shall remain vacant today.
If no members of the public are present, might I ask who is currently occupying the gallery, my lord?
They are members of the judiciary, here to witness proceedings and ensure an equitable trial.
Members of the judiciary. Oh my, this is a very unusual trial already.
There is, of course, another unprecedented aspect to these proceedings on which I must elaborate. The counsels for the prosecution and the defense are both aliens of Great Britain. I believe it takes an outsider to see the truth sometimes. And as I stand here in this courtroom now, I'm quite certain. This is the reason why I had to come to Britain.
Kazuma?
Very well, let us commence proceedings. Prosecutor Asogi, your opening statement, if you please. Certainly, my lord. The incident took place on 1st November at just after 5 o'clock in the afternoon. The location was a building of flats on Fresno Street, on the outskirts of the city. The victim's body was discovered there in an old single-room rental property. Yes, Inspector Tobias Gregson, a name well known indeed to this court. Not least for its miraculous resolution of one of this country's grimmest cases 10 years ago.
The Professor case. How sure are you about the time of the incident?
Several witnesses on the street outside heard the gunshot, and have all reported the same time.
Yes, that's what Gina told us too. There were a number of witnesses.
I have here a plan of the room. The victim was found curled up in one corner. It's believed that he was shot from the front at point-blank range and died instantly. How's the range been determined? There were scorch marks around the entry wound. Such marks are caused by the gunpowder used to fire the bullet. The powder hot enough to leave scorch marks is only ejected a few inches beyond the end of the barrel. In other words, it only happens when the target is at point-blank range. I see, yes. Thank you for the detailed explanation, Counsel. The autopsy report has been entered into the court record. Inspector Gregson's autopsy report stating that death was instant, resulting from a bullet shot at close range. Murder weapons were found lying beside the victim. And have you managed to ascertain the owner of this firearm? No, my lord. Not conclusively.
Bravo, Kazuma-sama. We're not trying to use the gun as evidence when its provenance can't be proven.
Furthermore, my lord, as I've explained, the revolver was fired at extremely close range. The bullet passed through the victim and struck the wall behind him. There was a candelabrum mounted on that wall. The tip of one of the candles in it was found to have been blown off by the projectile.
We noticed that too, didn't we?
Yes, that's right. Thank you for the thorough report, Counsel. The setting of the crime is clear to me. You will submit the plan of the crime scene as evidence, please. As you wish, my lord. Crime scene floor plan has been entered into the court record, okay? The plan of the small room in the building of flats on Fresno Street where the body of the victim, Inspector Gregson, was found. Is this Fresno Street room Inspector Gregson's private abode? No, my lord. The room is rented to a Mr. Hugh Boone. But there's precious little furniture inside, and it is generally in a poor state of repair.
So what on earth was Gregson even doing there? Presumably, he was investigating some case or other.
When a policeman was informed of the gunshot, it's a very loud train horn. When a policeman was informed of the gunshot and the witnesses and rushed to the scene, he found only the deceased inspector and the accused standing alongside, both holding the revolver. The attending officer arrested the accused on the spot. Wait, hold on, both? Alongside holding the revolver. I think this guy said both, and that doesn't make sense. So, the details of the case are clear. In that case, the prosecution would like to call its first witness. Name, please, counsel. Naturally, the accused himself.
Lord Von Zieks.
As a prosecutor, he believes in the oath of office he's taken and will be compelled to tell the truth. Very well. Let the defendant take the witness stand. Who's backing up? So, witness, state your name and occupation for the court. Baruch Von Zieks, Old Bailey prosecutor. I presume, Lord Von Zieks, that you heard Prosecutor Asugi's opening praises. I did. It is alleged that you were found at the scene of the crime, and that you were arrested by the arriving police officer. Can you confirm this? Yes, my lord. And I'm sure the court would like to hear you explain some things away. Namely, why you were there in the room on Fresno Street at the time in question. And what exactly took place. I intend to explain away nothing. I will simply tell the truth. I must say, Lord Von Zieks, never imagined this day would come. Or rather, I didn't want to imagine it would come. But since you became known as the Reaper, a part of me has been dreading it. Your formal testimony then, witness.
Throat just still.
Drink water. Witness testimony. The facts of the incident. I was investigating Gregson, and my inquiries had led me to that address. When I first entered the room that day, it was dark inside, and I saw no one. A moment later, I heard the gunshot. I spun around and saw the revolver on the floor. Just as I picked the firearm up to examine it, the door flew open and I heard a man scream. It was only then that the body of Inspector Gregson appeared before me. That testimony was the whole truth. It was. So, you heard a shot being fired in a room with no living occupants, and moments later a corpse somehow appeared before your eyes. Is that it? You're right, you haven't explained away anything. In fact, that would barely qualify as an excuse. I thought you were my mute apprentice. And it turns out you have a way with words. Prosecutor Asugi. Would appear to be a singular tale indeed. Singular isn't a word. It's laughable.
Why? What's gotten into Kazuma? He's not behaving like himself at all.
Very well then. Counsel, you may begin your cross-examination.
Yes, my lord.
The facts of the incident. Alright. I was investigating Gregson, and my inquiries had led me to that address.
Why were you investigating him? You were investigating the inspector. What on earth for? What on earth for?
Train. I'm not at liberty to say. Just like a little bit of phlegm in my throat. Enough that it's throwing off all my voice, at least in lower ranges. Can you stop? Either it's one very slow train, or there are multiple trains coming through, blowing their horn very loud.
Sorry?
I'd identified a distinct possibility that Gregson was involved in a case I was investigating. Regrettably, though, he was killed before I could secure the proof I needed. Is the court to understand, then, that on the day in question, he followed the victim to the scene? No, I was privy to his movements in advance. Hold on a second. What on earth? throat. Why can I not speak?
Uh, how?
I stole into his office at the yard and consulted his diary. The address on Fresno Street was noted in the 5 p.m. entry. Who illegally entered the man's office. In Japan, that alone would constitute a very serious offense. As it does in Great Britain, I assure you. Is that not the case, Lord Van Zieks? I was aware of the possible consequences. So, in summary, you were investigating the victim. And yet, you refused to tell the court why. I didn't realize British prosecutors enjoyed such freedom to choose what to divulge in the oath.
Why did I ever think I could defend this man?
When I first entered the room that day, it was dark inside, and I saw no one.
Hold it!
Had you ever been to the address before?
No, never. Only learned of the place as a result of my investigations into Gregson's activities. Train again.
What are they doing?
There was no light inside when I entered, so it was all but impossible to make out anything.
But at 5 p.m., the sun would only just have gone down, and it would have still been reasonably light outside.
The room has a window, but it was boarded shut. Not particularly well. Very little light found its way into the room from outside, so it was extremely murky inside. Okay, so that means the candles must have burnt down before he got there, and went out at some point. I wouldn't have noticed it. I wouldn't have noticed that the victim was already lying on the floor. There was no artificial light in the room, you say? You're quite sure? I'm quite sure that the part of the room where the body was found was very dark. I have a feeling there was a small oil lamp burning on the desk, though I couldn't say for certain.
Look, Mr. Naruhodo. I know. There is a small desk in the room just here. Yes, I remember, and there was an oil lamp on it, as well as the framed photograph.
When I entered the room, I closed the door behind me and started toward the desk to investigate.
And what did you find?
Nothing. I never actually reached the desk. A moment later, I heard the gunshot. I spun around and saw the revolver on the floor.
Hold it!
So, who fired the gun?
I have no idea. I didn't see anybody else in the room.
But you say it was very dark in there?
Yes, that's right. All I can tell you is, I didn't sense another's presence.
Then could it be that the gunshot actually originated from somewhere outside the room?
No, that's out of the question.
Oh,
Without doubt, the sound emanated from inside the room. I could smell the gunpowder.
this is going from bad to worse.
And you say that's the point in which you noticed the revolver on the floor. Correct. And I foolishly picked it up. That was carelessness on my part. Presumably then, the gunshot you heard came from the firearm that you somewhat hastily took in your hands. In point of fact, my lord, I believe it did not.
What?
The barrel of the revolver I picked up was cold. There was no smell of spent powder.
But then where on earth is the gun that was fired?
Whilst I would like to oblige you with an answer, I'm afraid I can't. I, too, would dearly like to know that. Just as I picked the firearm up to examine it, the door flew open, and I heard a man scream.
Hold it!
A man, you say? One of the witnesses, I presume?
That's right. One of the street merchants working on Fresno Street. Who are these merchants? A number of them had set up their stalls directly beneath the boarded window of the crime scene. A match seller, a newsmonger, and a peddler. They have all given statements saying they heard the gunshot. And without thought of danger, they ran inside to see what had happened.
Yes, Gina told us about that yesterday, didn't she?
They burst through the door with some force, it would seem. It did. It almost gave me a heart attack in the process.
But you're supposed to be the Reaper.
The first man to come in immediately noticed the revolver in my hand and fled. A policeman patrolling on Fresno Street heard the commotion, was able to arrest the accused shortly after the incident occurred. Anyway, the man's scream drew my attention in that direction. It was only then that the body of Inspector Gregson appeared before me.
Hold it!
What do you mean by that? In what way did the body appear?
I honestly can't explain it, but it's the truth. As far as I was concerned, the body hadn't been there until that point. Then suddenly, there it was.
Did you perhaps hear the sound of the victim falling to the ground just beforehand?
At that moment, what I heard was the sound of the door flying open, the scream of the man who came inside first. Nothing more.
I see.
After the man fled, I examined the body. I was stunned to find that it was Gregson. Most curious circumstances indeed. How the inspector was killed, or how his body seemed to appear out of nowhere, I have no idea.
Objection!
Surely the court has heard enough. My lord, cross-examination has clearly revealed that the accused, Bardock von Zieks, is lying on multiple fronts.
What is that supposed to mean?
Gracious counsel. The defendant is lying, you say? In his testimony just now, he claims that he failed to notice the victim's body because the room was dark. That's correct. No, that's impossible. As proven by this candelabrum.
How does that prove anything?
If you examine the tip of the long candle, you can see it has been blown off by a powerful impact. One would assume that the projectile from the firearm passed through the victim and struck the candle. The problem comes when you consider the other two candles, which are clearly of a different length. Yes, I can see that only the candle that appears to have been struck by the bullet is long. We could reasonably expect someone to have lit all three candles together. Which begs the question of, Why only one has ended up longer than the others?
That must be because that particular candle was extinguished while when the others were still burning. Ah!
That's right. When the candle was hit by the bullet, it obviously went out. And the other two candles would still have been burning. So the fact is, the victim's body would have been illuminated by the light still thrown by the candelabrum. The accused's claim that he couldn't see the body clearly contradicts those facts. And now, to the next lie.
There's more.
The accused also claims never to have visited the scene of the crime before. That's the truth. In that almost empty room, police discovered something very unusual. A board covered from top to bottom in police documents and newspaper cuttings.
Yes, that's right. We saw it too.
It goes without saying that the contents of the police documents cannot be divulged. However, they included a number of reports from various historical cases, the oldest of which was from 10 years ago.
10 years ago? This is starting to sound familiar.
And there's a common thread linking all the documents on that board. Indeed, what is this common thread, Counsel? They all relate to cases prosecuted in court by Barak von Zieks.
All of them?
And furthermore, all those cases are ones in which the defendant was acquitted. Good Lord! Interestingly, none of those defendants are alive today, because all of them have been sent to their graves by the Reaper.
Ah.
Wasn't it said some of those guys died from, like, disease? And we just proved that last one died from someone stabbing him. There we go.
Oh no.
In short, a dingy little room is the Reaper's secret hideout, his base of operations.
The Reaper's hideout?
And yet the Reaper would claim never to have been would claim to never to have been to his own secret hideout. No one would believe that. No. Truth is, we've been looking at this backwards. Backwards? Explain, Counsel. Inspector Gregson was investigating the identity of the Reaper. When he discovered the location of the man's secret hideout, he was killed. As I'm sure everyone can imagine, by the Reaper's hand.
What?
Order, order, order! I hereby state the current opinion of the court. Barak von Zieks is an outstanding prosecutor who's rendered great service to his country. However, it is with deep regret that I must concur with Prosecutor Aslgi's contention that the defendant's testimony exhibits a number of stark inconsistencies with the known facts. All I have done is state the truth as I know it.
Cosmo's done a brilliant job as ever. He's drawing on his experience as a defense attorney to build his prosecution case, and it's formidable.
Counsel, You will submit the board you just shown to the court as evidence. I believe it to be fundamental in establishing the facts surrounding the Reaper's existence. Thank you, my lord. Notice board has been entered into the court record. Freestanding notice board completely covered in notes and articles relating to the victims of the Reaper of the Bailey. No, the prosecution would like to call new witnesses to the stand. Witnesses who saw events unfold on the day in question.
They were mentioned in the previous testimony too, if you remember. Yes, the street sellers who heard the gunshot and went running into the room.
Very well, lead the witnesses in. The defendant may step down from the witness stand. Certainly, my lord. You again. So, witnesses, state your names and occupations for the court. I don't like your lip. Names? We don't use names. Far too fancy for the likes of us. We're just free and easy. Sell what we like, live what we want to live. I give the ball vacant stares. They walked out Fresno. There's been a few words into a verse for them. Ah. Would I be right in assuming that all three of you make your living by selling wares on the street? Everyone calls me gossip. I sell jaunty little tidbits to passers-by, you know.
Jaunty little tidbits.
What an absolute smasher for you, sir. Right up your ginnel it is. 6 is the price and not a penny less.
Oh, wait, you're actually trying to sell it to me now?
Oh, come on, sir. Don't tell me you're not interested. Try the man.
Give him some money and see what it is.
Pay the man, counsel.
Alright. 6 it is.
You will regret it, sir. Now I've got your listening ears on. Just between us, a young couple on Slight Street have just had twins.
Is that it?
No, that's not it. It's gossip, isn't it? It wants to spread, but that bit's up to you and your mouth, of course. I've got more, you know, one other juicy one. 6 a piece it is, if you're curious.
I am curious, yes, about what's going on just underneath that fat bottom lip of yours. Namely, that unusual bruise or whatever it is that's poking out from under your collar.
What about the next witness, then? What name do you go by, and what do you sell?
Me, I'm Venus. That's what everyone calls me. Funny, isn't it? I sell these lovely little fireworks to all the local school kids.
Where'd you get that? That seems dangerous.
6 a pop. What do you say? You weren't exaggerating with little. Did they actually sell?
Oh yeah, second years can't get enough of my Venus firecrackers. Especially when I tell them that if they get 100, they could blow up school. Not the most savory of ideas, young lady.
What do you say then, eh? Want to pop with 6 for a pop? Wait, what? You want me to buy one?
Tell you what, I'll let you in on a little secret. If you get 100 of them, you could blow up the whole courtroom. Try the woman.
Give her the money and see if she's right.
Pay the woman, counsel.
Alright, I'll buy one.
Lovely stuff, right then. This is something a bit extra just for you. The Venus special, only 600 pence.
600?
It's 100 my regular fireworks. There's little about that, is there?
And there'd be nothing little about the punishment if I blew up the Old Bailey either.
The Venus firecracker's been entered in the court record. That could be the gunshot. And it would leave, a smell of gunpowder as well. It didn't seem quite as loud, but... The Venus special firecracker consisting of 100 smaller fireworks at 6 pence each. What sort of a bang could it make? Last witness. What name do you go by and what do you sell? I'm thinking me, think all sorts of thoughts. I think that therefore I am. I am, therefore I think. Because I stand on the street watching the world go on without me. They call me the observator. Observator. Get out of it, old man. Everyone calls you Sandwich and you know it. So, you don't actually sell anything? Problem to shed is a problem halved, as they say. Back to advice I do, and think what it means. I don't actually sell anything, no, could come to think of it. Penny.
No more purchases today, please.
Well, we have quite a cast here, it seems. They conducted their business on Fresno Street from morning until night, my lord. And always in the same place, directly adjacent to the crime scene. I see. And thus they heard the gunshot, I suppose. Not only that, but they very bravely ran inside to see what was going on and witness the crime. Hell, I'll be bigger than I thought. Just between us. Venus de Milo, what am I to do? What a terrible thing I saw. What I think is if all what we see is light and shadow, but plain our eyes, isn't even real. Very well. The court will hear the formal testimony of these 3 witnesses now. You will describe in detail what you witnessed and heard at the time of the incident. Once they're done with the testimony, I'm going to take a closer look at the evidence. The witness's account. We saw the whole thing from start to finish, we did. Everything from the moment they went in the building. It was less than a minute after the rape had gone inside that we all heard a big bang. Seems to me that quick to talk is quick to walk. Of course, we couldn't wait to go and see what had happened. I ran into the room and there he was, the Reaper, gun in hand, standing over the dead body. I was scared half to death of me, so I ran off to find a copper.
If these witnesses were there the whole day and saw everything, who did they see going inside the building?
Only the victim, Inspector Gregson. And the accused, Monarch Von Zeeks. I've seen pictures of that Reaper in the paper. I know what he looks like. Just between us, folk love stories like this. I made myself a tidy sum already.
But wait, the room was... the room was just one of several flats in the building. Someone from another flat could have done it.
All those flats on Fresno Street are unoccupied. Of course they are. The small, damp, dirty, and expensive to boot. The room in which the inspector was found is the only property in the building that's currently leased.
And we know the leaseholder's name, don't we? It's Hugh Bone.
The testimony the court has just heard would appear to leave little room for doubt. It's becoming increasingly difficult to see how anyone other than the defendant could have committed the crime.
No!
Thank you for your candor, my lord. Counsel for the defense, you may proceed to cross-examine the witnesses.
Yes, my lord. In a closed court like this, without a jury, the judge is the only person whose opinion matters. I have to break down this testimony somehow.
Alright. First. Let's check out these new things. We have the firecrackers here. Here's the fuse.
Have you had an idea, Mr. Naruhodo? You're staring at the end of the string of fireworks. Sorry, it's just the Venus special. I was wondering what 600 pence worth of fireworks would sound like. Shall we find out? What? But she said it could blow up the courtroom. Alright, that was a fairly sizable bang. My ears are still ringing, Mr. Naruhodo. It sounded almost exactly like...
Details of the Venus firecracker have been updated in the court record. It goes off like a gunshot. Anyway, this isn't real anymore. We blew it up. Notice board. Hi.
Oh, what's this? Mr. Naruhodo, look! Oh, yes, it's a smudge of some kind. In fact, it looks just like a handprint. And the color. That's blood, isn't it? Oh dear, how disturbing.
Details in the notice board have been updated in the court record. There's a bloody handprint on the backside. Underside's kind of red too. That might be painted lighting or something though.
There are details of a whole raft of cases dating back years here, aren't there? And this paper from 10 years ago is browning with age, look. Out of interest, the most recent thing appears to be this newspaper cutting here. Oh, it's the same Red-Headed League advertisement that Mr. Sholmes had picked out. Do you remember? There was a red hair piece at the scene, too. Was Inspector Gregson an exponent of the Red-Headed League, then?
Sure is floor plan. Let's see. Autopsy report. Coroner Maria Gorey. Victim Tobias Gregson, male, age 45, nationality British. Time of death blank. Nothing. We don't have it. Cause of death. The victim was shot in the chest at close range from the front, resulting in instant death. Scorch marks at point of entry. The bullet exited the body from behind. Additional observations. The caliber of the gun used matches that of standard issue firearms for members of the judiciary. Cool, and this is the stuff we already had. I believe I looked at it already. Never did find what that key was for. Here's some guy. That's not the same guy. Unless it could be. His eyebrows look the same, but his nose isn't. We saw the whole thing from start to finish, we did. Everything from the moment they went into the building.
Hold it!
When you say they, who do you mean exactly? Inspector Gregson and the defendant, Lord Von Zeeks?
I suppose all the likes of us don't know the names of the high and mighty. But I tell you one thing, it was the old Reaper that went in last, that's for sure and certain.
Just behind Inspector Gregson, did they arrive at the same time as each other?
No, not at all. The first fella must have gone inside a good 15 minutes before we heard that gunshot.
The victim arrived 15 minutes before. Are you sure about that?
Am I sure? Am I sure? Does it seem likely that I've forgotten a fella with red hair like that, does it?
Yes, it really was red, wasn't it? Redder than my flaming fireworks, even.
That fiery red mob still burnt on the inside of my eyelids, it is.
Wait a minute, you're saying the man was a redhead?
Are you listening, chum? Nah, he was a redhead. And he had a big trunk with him as well.
But Inspector Gregson's hair isn't red. Not by any stretch of the imagination. And it seems likely the person you saw wasn't in fact Inspector Gregson at all, but some other third party.
No, I hate to break it to you, but the witnesses are correct.
What?
Just have a look at this photograph of the victim taken at the scene. Finally.
Yes, that's Inspector Gregson, all right. And a red hairpiece.
Not a very good picture.
Of course, we saw one on the floor when we investigated the scene, didn't we? I still refuse to believe that Inspector Gregson wore a hairpiece, though. So then why on earth would he have been wearing something like that?
The color doesn't seem to suit the man, one might say. The color does seem to suit the man, one might say. The photograph will be submitted as evidence, please, counsel. Photograph of the victim has been entered into the court record. Inspector Gregson. His body appears to be tightly curled up, and there's a red hairpiece on his head. Looks like it is a bit more zoomed out.
What became of the trunk that the red-headed victim was supposedly carrying?
I was informed that no trunk was found at the scene.
So it just disappeared.
What do you expect us to have been watching the building? What do you expect us to have been watching the building every second, do you?
I definitely saw him in the dock going in, though. No question about that. Sure.
Let's check that picture. Not really anything more stand out over here, I suppose. Though if we were to bring up the handprint back here, we could definitely say it's not his handprint because there's no blood on his hand. The one that's turned up. So that's something.
Hold it!
By which presumably you mean the gunshot. I sell these little things, don't I? How would I know what a gunshot sounds like? But I've always thought it probably sounds a bit like this, doesn't it? And you say that you heard the noise almost as soon as you saw the defendant enter the building? That's right, it was almost straight away. Bang, it went, just like that.
Well, he's the Reaper, isn't he? He's what the French call a fait accompli. When the Reaper's around, people are going in the ground. I mean, that's what he does, isn't it?
I think we get the message.
The Reaper couldn't allow the inspector to live after he discovered a secret hideout. There can be no clearer motive for the crime. Yes. Certainly an eminently credible motive.
Great.
And at that point, you ran inside. Is that correct? It seems to me that they're quick to talk, it's quick to walk. Good gossip couldn't wait to go and see what had happened.
Hold
So, when Gossip ran to see what had happened, did you go too?
Well, yeah, if it happened, see, all the signs that I can't, all the signs that I can't move very well. You were way behind, presumably. That sandwich bowl around your neck and that big sign in your hand.
The Great Bernie Bear. Pardon me for asking, Mr. Sandwich, but is it possible you and I have met before?
I'm not anybody, me. The signs are what make me who I am now. I sign, therefore I am. His fingers are clipping into the sign a little as it turns. Mainly on the corners.
So, you weren't employed as an omnibus driver just under a year ago, then?
I might be mistaken, but I believe his trembling has intensified, Mr. Naruhodo.
Yes, I agree. He's clearly been through a lot.
Turn down King Henry Street and the Black Widower's Arms is just there.
Oh dear, you've made him hide behind a sign. Life is full of surprises.
I ran into the room and there he was, the Reaper, gun in hand, standing over the dead body.
Hold it!
So then, you were the first person to arrive on the scene, is that right?
That I was. Kicked the door open like a professional I did, and yelled out, "What's going off here?"
Lord Von Zieks claims that all he heard was a man's scream, though. And was it dark inside the room?
No, not dark at all. There were candles burning on the wall.
Really?
And there was a fella collapsed on the floor. Just between us, that's the first thing I noticed when I got inside.
I see. Even though Lord Von Zieks claims not to have seen such lights on the wall.
Next thing I noticed was someone standing right beside the body. The accused, Monarch Von Zieks. That's right, the pale-faced Reaper himself. There. I was a little shocked, I won't deny it, but I'm no lily-livered coward. I stood my ground and gave that Reaper a cold, hard stare myself. Oh,
Excuse me.
it's not true. You ran away like a baby.
Do you have something to add, Mr. Sandwich?
That's really nothing to me. Empty that I am, just 2 slices with no middle. So I don't know what you could want from me.
I think that maybe you just remembered something. Having heard Mr. Gossip's last statement, I mean.
What I think is, we're all nothings really. We try to dress ourselves up as something else, but at the end of the day, we're just all street sellers. That's enough out of you, Sandwich. Keep your trap shut now. Unless you want us to make you into a real sandwich. When he saw the Reaper, he fell clean over on his backside.
That's it.
Don't be rotten beggar. I told you to keep that a secret. He screamed, he did, screamed, and scrambled off on all fours. That's all I wanted to say.
Mr. Gossip, is this true?
The floor was dead slippery, that's why. Put blood in my hand in a filthy pool of blood, didn't I? Yuck.
Blood? What a pool of blood?
Listen here, even when I was sprawled on the floor, I still kept giving that Reaper a cold hard stare, and don't you forget it.
Where'd you find a pool of blood if you were right by the door? Let's just go back a little. Did you say you got blood on your hand? I did. It happens the best of us at times, doesn't it? So I was scared, so I slipped over. We could just keep it between us, can't we? No, Mr. Gossip. I'm going to have to ask you to add that information to your formal testimony. Oh, if I must.
The witness will amend his testimony to include the aforementioned details at once.
I slipped over and got blood on my hands, so I quickly wiped it off on the floor.
Hold it!
You wiped your hand on the floor. Well, what's blood on his hand, eh? Horrible stuff, and I might have a thought I had done it.
No doubt.
And you didn't think that might be a problem? Doesn't really matter if I left a few grubby handprints on the floor. They'll get cleaned up in the end, won't they? Don't make such a fuss. That's a message for all of us.
Is something wrong, Counsel? No, my lord. I didn't remember anything to report about a bloody handprint on the floor, that's all.
Don't come at me with all that. You can't intimidate me. I know what I did. I wiped it off on the floor with the blood. I wonder, could that be what happened? Mr. Naruto, I don't have all the answers yet, but I think we may have just uncovered a vital clue.
I was scared after death, me, so I ran off to find a copper. Oops, I messed up. I didn't hit the button.
If I can't find any holes in this testimony, I'm afraid the judge will give a ruling of guilty, Mr. Naruto. The truth is, though, their combined testimony is fairly damning. Unfortunately, there don't seem to be any obvious problems with their statements, do there? Still, if Lord Von Zieks really is innocent, then I'm almost certain that we'll find something in there that doesn't quite add up. You don't think that one of these three could be the true culprit, do you? I don't know, but what I do know is that there's more to this case that is yet to be brought to light.
I wanted to...
Hold it!
So you didn't run into the room with your friends.
I'm not that sort of girl.
Sorry?
I'm a timid little thing, me. I was too scared to go in there.
Ah, right. I see.
Old Lippy and the witch went in there, and I heard a sort of old lady scream.
Well, that wasn't me, I swear. If I were a gentleman, I'd stake my honor on it.
I wondered what on earth was going on.
Which is when you went to find a policeman?
And I ran into a cop as soon as I turned the corner. So I brought him straight back to the place. Didn't I do well, eh?
Just between us, that couple's eyes nearly popped out of his head when he saw the Reaper. I never felt more uncomfortable in all my life.
And the defendant was arrested on the spot, I believe. Considering the catalogue of killings the Reaper had carried out, it was a particularly inauspicious end.
Okay.
I'm guessing what we want is the handprint to this, because we don't have blood anywhere on the floor, but we do have blood on this thing.
Objection!
So you wiped off the blood from your hand on the floor of the room. Are you quite sure about that?
Well, what else do you expect me to have done, eh? It doesn't really matter.
Objection!
The police found no such handprint on the floor during their investigations. What exactly is the defense asserting?
If you listen, you'll find out, Prosecutor Asugi. Certainly, there was no bloody handprint found on the floor.
What are you trying to say?
There was a handprint in blood left very clearly at the scene. On the back of this notice board.
Yes, indeed. Indisputably a handprint in the distinctive color of blood.
You did right, that's my right hand. I'd know it anyway.
Was it knocked over?
Objection.
The witness very definitively testified that he wiped his hand on the floor. Any handprints on the back of the board are irrelevant.
Objection.
Not if the board itself had fallen over onto the floor. And if in that case, it's quite possible for the witness's handprint to have ended up there.
Just look at the floor plan of the room. The notice board was in the opposite corner of the room to the victim, and in an upright position. Even if it had somehow been toppled and was lying on the floor at the time, it would have been a considerable distance from the body.
I fell over when I came across the body, so I was basically right next to the corpse, not on the other side of the room.
In other words, the defense's assertion is contradictory.
Yes, it is. There's a very definitive contradiction here, for which there must be a reason.
I take it that you formulated a proper hypothesis, counsel. Regarding this apparent discrepancy between the witness's account and the handprint found at the scene.
I have, my lord. The discrepancy between the witness's account and the location of the handprint is explained by...
I'll be honest, your everything is kind of off. We definitely don't have another handprint. There's no reason to think the board moved. I don't...
The witness claims to have wiped his bloody hand on the floor, yet no sign of that remains at the scene. The simplest explanation is that the witness is lying.
Objection.
That's not quite what I was going for. Just because it's the simplest explanation doesn't make it the correct one. Ryunosuke Naruhodo. Positing perjury simply because it suits you. You bring shame on your Japanese heritage.
That's not what I meant.
I would ask you not to oversimplify matters again, counsel. I don't remember fostering that kind of simplistic thinking in you.
Since when were you my father? Anyway, I was always taught to consider all possibilities.
And show me.
There should be a bloody handprint on the floor, so where did it go? Ready to give the proper explanation to the court now, my lord.
Take it you formulated proper hypothesis, and I guess someone would have had to stand it up.
The real contradiction here is the handprint itself, not where it was found. As the court can see, it's upside down.
Good gracious, so it is. If the witness had put his hand against the board, the finger should be pointing upwards. What does that tell us?
It tells one simple fact. When this handprint was made, the board must have been lying on the floor as I previously suggested. Which means that after the incident, it must have been moved.
What?
Objection.
You're claiming that somebody moved the notice board after the shooting. And tell the court who.
don't know that yet. But the point is, when you consider all the testimony we've heard so far, we can now be very clear on one point.
And that would be
The position of the notice board at the time of the incident, my lord.
So, counsel, I must ask you to clarify your assertion for the court. At the time of the incident, where do you maintain the notice board was situated? You know, it would have had to have been over here, right? Here-ish. Makes sense to have it over where you can use the light to see it.
This is the only possible location.
Okay, that's a little closer to the door. I guess that would make sense how it might have fallen. You slam the door open and it gets knocked over. Immediately adjacent to the doorway.
If the court would think back to the testimony given by the defendant earlier, he said that when he entered the room, it was dark, and he couldn't see the body.
Heck!
If the notice board had been there, the body would have been completely hidden from view. And the light from the candles would have been blocked, making the room appear darker.
Objection.
Not that blocked.
The accused also claims that the victim's body simply appeared before him.
That's true. Or, in his precise words,
Just as I picked up the firearm up to examine it, the door flew open and I heard a man scream. It was only then that the body of Inspector Gregson appeared before me.
I don't know about calling it a scream, but he was talking about me, and no mistake. Because it was me that kicked the door open. If you look again at the floor plan, consider what would happen if the door to the room was thrown open with force.
That can't...
The door struck the notice board, knocking it over, and making the victim's body visible.
Good gracious!
My client has told nothing but the truth. He simply described what he saw.
Order! Order! Counsel, how has this not come to light before now?
After the incident, somebody must have righted the board and moved it into the position where the police, myself, and my colleague saw it when we investigated the room. When investigating.
I didn't notice that stool had a broken, rung there. Might just be set dressing. Witness, what have you to say for yourself? I couldn't inspect it when I was there.
What, me, my lord? You and your fellows were there at the scene before anybody else. It goes without saying that you must know something about the position of the notice board.
The witnesses in the stand will testify again. You will each explain exactly what you did upon arriving at the scene of the crime.
Just looking at your glasses, looking over your glasses at me. I get the message.
This testimony, the mystery of the moving board.
I don't know anything about that notice board. I just wiped my hand on it, that's all.
Well, don't look at me. I haven't got a clue about it. I was doing business with some second years at the time.
I don't know anything about anything. I'm just a bystander, me, just a side at the crossroads of life. It was that Reaper I met, and he's got a face that screams bored. I can't see how this changes anything anyway. The detective still died when we heard the gunshot.
So none of you can elaborate further. Shaken by the crime they witnessed, and with only the light of a few candles and an oil lamp by which to see, we can't expect these witnesses to be able to give a more precise account of what happened.
That's right, yeah. It don't pay to expect too much.
It's a man's endless quest for knowledge that's destroying the world. That's what I think.
Do you really?
In any case, as this testimony shows, even if the notice board was moved by somebody following the incident, it makes no difference. When the gunshot rang out, the accused was the only person at the scene. In short, the only person who could possibly have committed this crime is Bardock von Zeeks. None of this wrangling over the board changes that simple fact. Quite so, quite so. Does the defense still wish to cross-examine the witnesses despite the circumstances?
Most certainly, my lord.
Very well, then you may proceed, counsel. Mystery of the moving board. Alright. Where's their fly up there? Anything about that notice board? I just put my hand on it, that's all.
Hold it!
So you admit that it was the board that you wiped your bloody hand on?
Admit it, but still admit it's there plain as day for all to see. A smashing print in my right hand.
Perhaps you wanted to hide that handprint, so you righted the notice board and pushed it into the corner, did you?
No. Imagine the weight of that great lump. Do I look like a powerful and well-nurtured man?
Well, did you see anybody else moving the board?
I've got nerves of steel, I can tell you, but even I have my limits. There was a body on the floor in front of me, and the Grim Reaper himself standing over it. And there was precious little light inside either. My bottom lip was all a quiver. In other words, the witness is unable to give definitive testimony on that point. Yes, so it would seem. Well, don't look at me, I haven't got a clue about it. I was doing business with some second years at the time.
Hold it!
When you say you were doing business with them, you mean you were selling them fireworks.
Yeah, what else? There's a priory. There's a priory school just around the corner, see? Those cheeky little so-and-so's got a plan to blow their school to kingdom come. So I've been telling on them, letting their teachers know what they're up to.
Oh, you have?
Yeah, I wouldn't want anyone to get hurt, so I let the school know those kids are playing with dodgy toys. Then, praise the Lord, and teachers take all the fireworks off them. And then, praise the Lord again, the kids all come back to me to buy more. Everyone's happy, see?
What a racket.
Of course, and sometimes the teachers give me a little bonus to thank me for letting them know. It's a busy old life selling explosives. Venus is a colorful goddess indeed. Well, telling barefaced lies is kind of my thing, really. I'm ever so good at it. Don't explode me, please.
Excuse me.
Something wrong, Mr. Sandwich?
If I said it was, could we just leave it at that? Would that be the end of it?
No. Did Miss Venus's statement just now bring something to mind, perhaps?
Philosophical thoughts. Deep philosophical thoughts. Let's say there was a great liar. And that great liar said, without batting an eye, Telling barefaced lies is kind of my thing. I'm ever so good at it. Would those words of hers be a lie too, or the truth? In which case she's not a liar. Oh, it's a hellish paradox, that one, don't you think?
I'm not entirely sure, to be honest. But it seems to me you're suggesting Miss Venus has been lying. Are you?
What are you on about, old man? Trying to cause trouble, are you? Keep on like that, and I'll wrap your whole body in firecrackers and set 'em off. That'll give you something to tremble about. You have a startlingly disturbing mind behind that sweet and innocent face, young lady.
So, Miss Venus has lied in her testimony. Is that what you're saying, Mr. Sandwich?
Well, if it means I'll be burning in hellfire for the rest of my days, so be it. Yes, that's what I'm saying. Can you elaborate, please, sir? Oh, blabbermouth, he heard from the room where the gunshots seemed to come from. But there was something else who crept up the stairs. Someone else who crept up the stairs behind him, too. That's right. It's that rotten liar over there. Do you mean to say that you did, in fact, take yourself to the scene of the crime after all?
What did I tell you, eh?
I said I was good at telling barefaced lies, didn't I?
Yes, you mentioned it.
Well, that revelation rocked the whole courtroom, didn't it?
I know firecrackers packed such a punch.
So you did indeed visit the scene of the crime, did you, young lady? Good grief. Well, now you come to mention it, I suppose perhaps I do clearly remember climbing the stairs to the room, yeah.
Either you clearly remember it or you don't.
Well, I shall consider a fitting punishment for this perjurous act later. For the time being, you will immediately amend your testimony to reflect the truth.
Oh, yes, my lord, of course.
Maybe I did sneak along behind gossip and have a little peek into the room where it all happened.
Hold it!
You make a habit of lying, do you, Miss Venus?
Well, I suppose so. I don't really know, to be fair. If you want my advice, though, I take everything I say with a big pinch of salt.
Alright, but you did in fact go into the room where the victim was killed on the day in question, didn't you?
Oh, please, as if I would. I can't think of anything more terrifying. The truth, please.
Well, alright, just a bit then.
I mean, the girl my age is curious about stuff, you know.
Did you touch anything at the scene?
Oh, please, as if I would. I mean, there was a dead body on the floor. The truth, please.
Well, alright, just a bit then.
I had a look to see if there was anything I could sell. So I take it the place a once over, but there was nothing to write home about.
Right. Now, I hesitate to ask, but you didn't move the notice board by any chance, did you?
Oh, please, as if I would touch anything like that. Just a few bits of loose change is all I had. Truth, please.
Well, Oh, alright then. I thought there might be something worth having underneath it. So I blasted the flippin' thing. Sorry, I flipped the blasted thing.
You're telling us that you did move the board. That board.
I think that did slip out, didn't it? You daft bomb-pop!
What? I don't believe it. The girl doesn't think.
So, did you find anything then? Something that you might have taken, perhaps, to sell? Oh, please. I should be so lucky.
Truth now.
I might have found this old pocket watch under the notice board, I suppose. Not a bit of junk like this can't be worth much if you...
So it was you, was it? You're the one what took it.
Gina?
Young lady, may I remind you where you are. A watch there. It was a present to Inspector Gregson from the yard for a big case he solved 10 years ago.
The professor case, no doubt.
Boss used to wind it up every evening without fail, and he was waiting for a scrub to come to the pub.
I see. I swept it off him once, and blimey, he was upset. It gave me a right earful. Said he hadn't missed a day in the last 10 years, polishing it and winding it.
It meant the world to him, that watch did.
Possibly not the best thing to go diving for, then.
That's not all that, though. I took it to Jabba's that night to ask how much it was worth. The old dealer wouldn't touch it. Wouldn't give me a penny for it. Said it wasn't working. Knocked about and worthless, he called it. I knew I should have lifted it. That watch must be submitted as evidence at once.
Oh, please. Just so long as you promise to give it back when we're done.
No. Not a chance. I'll swipe it from you if you try to get your grubby mitts on it again. That's enough. Hand the watch to the bailiff forthwith.
Now, children, watch your manners.
Good lord. The glass appears to be broken. More than likely, it shattered when the inspector was shot.
It doesn't tick anymore either. Which is why Jabba's didn't want it. What a waste, eh?
Yes, indeed. It appears to have stopped at the hour of 5.
Exactly when the gunshot was heard, then. Which supports the prosecution's claim, of course.
Gregson's pocket watch has been entered into the court record. Inspector Gregson's pocket watch that he wound without fail every single day. It's no longer ticking and the glass over the face is cracked. Well, it would appear the mystery of the moving notice board has been solved at least. As predicted, and had very little bearing on the case. Now then, continue with your cross-examination, please, counsel. I don't know anything about anything. I'm just a bystander. Me, just a sign on the crossbar of roads in life.
Hold it!
But you did go see what had happened in the room, didn't you?
First reason, my whole world. It's all I know, and it's all I know, and I know all of it. I have to make my business to know if I want to hold my side up high. So you didn't go see what had happened. It's not the destination that's important, it's how you get there, isn't it?
Did you notice the notice board in the room?
If you think about it, we're both the same species, aren't we? Both different members of the Cyan family. So if I'd spotted it, I'd have tried to trip it up out of the sense of rivalry I meant.
Someone really needs to tell you that you're Homo sapiens, not Homo sapiens.
Does that mean that you didn't notice the board?
I can only repeat what I said before. That I don't know anything about anything. I'm just a bystander, me, just a sign of the crossroads of life.
In which case, just who was responsible for moving the notice board? We covered that already.
Was that Reaper, I bet? He's got a face that screams bored.
Hold it!
Not set up to do that.
What exactly do you mean by that? Oh, come on now, don't tell us you not noticed. He looks like he hates everything in the world, that fella. The not notice boards are the one thing he likes. You can see it in his eyes. I can't say I'd ever noticed. I'll tell you one thing for free, though. I never took my eyes off that man on the floor, or off the Reaper, not for a second. Sorry? Well, I was that scared, I couldn't. You never know what a fiend like that might do if you look away, do you? If you didn't take your eyes off the defendant, you should be able to confirm categorically whether or not he was the one who moved the notice board. That I can't. The Reaper did nothing of the sort. I can swear to that. I couldn't have missed it if he'd heaved the thing up right again and dragged it into the corner. Right. Glad we've cleared that up.
What happened to the face that screams bored?
I feel your pain, Kazuma. I can't see how this changes anything anyway. The detective so died when we heard the gunshot.
Hold it!
It was 5 o'clock in the afternoon that you all heard that loud bang, wasn't it? Maybe the notice board fell over, or maybe it didn't. Maybe I fell over, or maybe I didn't. The Reaper's fate is sealed either way, because that gunshot will be all heard. So your fate's sealed too. My fate?
That's right. The defense is fated to lose, and the prosecution to win.
In other words, it all hinges on that single gunshot. So if I could just find some problem with that part of their story, it may be possible to change all our fates. Of course, none of that changed the fact that I heard what I heard, does it? Not much to go on. As you pointed out, Mr. Naruto, there's no question that the notice board was moved, so somebody must have done it. But did it happen? It did happen after the event, so maybe Kazuma's right and it's not relevant to the case. But it seems to have been deliberately positioned so as to hide the body from view. So I feel sure that there's some deeper significance to all of this. Yes, I know what you mean. I've no doubt there are more clues to be uncovered. You're on the right track, I can feel it. So follow your instincts. Alright then.
I think what we need is this last statement, and I think we should investigate this thing. Take a closer look at it. Does seem to be at 5.
The glass over the face is really badly cracked, look.
Seems to all come from that one area. Right on the 5, actually.
What a shame when the inspector clearly looked after it so carefully. I imagine Mr. Schultz could repair it, don't you? Yes, I should think so. He's very adept at things like this. A useful man to have around, in fact. But kindly remember that he's a great detective, Mr. Naruto, not an odd job man.
The keys turned off.
There's a tiny little stub sticking out from a small hole here. Look. I suppose there must have been a little knob or something on that for setting the time. In that case, seeing as we know the inspector took such good care of this watch, it probably broke when the incident occurred, didn't it? Yes, of course. Which could mean that there's a small part of the watch still seen, maybe.
Huh. This is where that little policeman thing goes.
There's a tiny little keyhole here. Can you see? Oh, yes, that's probably for the winder used to wind up the mechanism. Yeah. It looks a little unusual, don't you think? Yes, you'd need just the right key to wind it, I'd imagine. Why do I feel as though I've seen something a bit like a key that's about the right size to fit in this hole? Would be wonderful if we had the key. Let's check carefully over what we've already found.
I already have it. Do you want some way to put it there? I can go look at it again. One of the policemen seems a little worse for wear. You can take it off. Please take it off. Or, no, it springs out.
It's some sort of key. It's tiny. So what is it for?
Could it possibly be for the thing we just looked at?
Mrs. Sato, you think perhaps this key could be the key for Inspector Gregson's watch? Oh, yes, it could be. Let's try it at once. There's not a moment to lose. I knew it. The perfect fit. And look, the inspector's watch has started going again. So it has obviously just not been wound up, that's all. What is it, Mrs. Sato? Well, if the watch isn't actually broken, after all, I have a feeling it could have profound implications. She's deep in thought now. Perhaps I better start thinking deeply, too.
Details of Gregson's pocket watch have been updated in the court record. Inspector Gregson's pocket watch, having wound it up, it started ticking again. That's not even broken, it's just the glass of it. Which means that I suppose when it stopped, it just meant that it had run out of, tension, I guess is how those things work. You wound up a spring or something, I think. So I guess that means he wouldn't have been able to do it the day before, or it wouldn't be like that. Okay. Stop moving, looking at this part. Like this, okay. Oh, that's right. No, look at this watch. It's working, and that means that it didn't break when he got shot. So the time isn't helping.
Objection!
I'm afraid that's not necessarily the case.
Oh!
At the scene, we found this key to the winder of the inspector's pocket watch.
Key?
And having wound the pocket watch, we discovered that it in fact still works. You see, the watch didn't stop because it was broken at all. And that fact completely undermines one of the most fundamental premises on which this entire case has been built.
What? Order. But, counsel, the watch was stopped at almost exactly 5 o'clock.
Yeah, which is just when we heard that gunshot.
It is exactly the hour.
The time that was showing on the watch tells us nothing other than when it wound down. It's merely a coincidence that it happened to be at 5 o'clock.
Objection!
Even if that's true, 3 witnesses here all heard the gunshot at 5 o'clock. So that's obviously when this crime was committed.
Objection!
No, that doesn't hold.
Why not?
recall what Inspector Lestrade said only moments ago.
The boss used to wind it up every evening without fail when he was waiting for his grub to come up at the pub. He said he hadn't missed a day in the last 10 years, polishing it and winding it. It meant the world to him, that watch did.
The victim was in the habit of winding his watch once a day, in the evening. We can reasonably assume, therefore, that he wound the timepiece on the evening before he died as well.
Yes, that would be entirely reasonable.
But if that's the case, you wouldn't expect the watch to have completely wound down by 5 o'clock the following day.
Oh, die! How do you explain it then?
In summary, the evening before the day of the incident, when the gunshot rang out in that room, the inspector was already unable to wind his watch.
You can't mean...
What would stop a man winding his watch if he'd been in the habit of winding it every single day for 10 years? The obvious answer is that he was already dead.
Order! Order! Counsel, that is a most extraordinary claim.
Objection.
Extraordinary isn't the word. It's absurd. You claim he was already dead the night before. Do you really think that Scotland Yard's coroner would have overlooked something like that?
On that subject, there is something rather surprising. There's actually an omission in the coroner's report. The time of death is not noted. That's right.
Wait a minute, you forget that my legs went from under me when I kicked the door in.
What do you mean?
Like I said, I planted my hand in a dirty grey puddle of blood. Yes, so the victim's blood hasn't dried. It's fresh. He catches on fast, doesn't he?
Objection.
But that blood could be explained in any number of ways. It could have been put there afterwards. Some fresh blood could have been poured on the victim's body after.
Does my learned friend think that fresh blood is available on every street corner?
Well, it needn't necessarily have been human blood, of course. We've been told previously that Scotland Yard has no way to identify blood as human.
The problem is currently being researched. At present, you are correct. It is beyond our abilities.
So then, a chicken's blood could have been used, for example. It's certainly a possibility that it wasn't the inspector's blood at all.
Objection.
But the gunshot was heard at 5 o'clock that afternoon. That's beyond question.
Is it, though?
What?
Given that the time of death of the victim has already been called into question, it isn't beyond the realm of possibility that what these witnesses heard wasn't a gunshot at all.
Oh, please. What are you trying to say? I'm gonna toss it out there just to remind you. That's all I know what we heard. It was a loud bang that came from that there room. No, you listen to me. Street sellers ears are his livelihood.
I don't doubt your ears, sir. But all you can state with certainty is that you heard a noise.
Explain yourself then, counsel.
A noise that sounds like a gunshot could have been made with...
Take that!
something like this. The culprit could have set off one of these to fake a gunshot.
Good gracious! The very fireworks that are sold by the witness.
Now hold on, Ma. Now hold on a minute. Are you saying I did it? My pretty little firecrackers only make a little pop anyway, see? Not 100 of them together. The Venus Special that you sell for 600 pennies sounds like this. As the court can now attest, it sounds very much like a gunshot, in fact.
You're trying to suggest that somebody set one of those fireworks off at the scene.
I'm suggesting that somebody knew the defendant was in the room at 5 that day and sought to implicate him by creating a sound like a gunshot for these peddlers on Fresno Street to hear.
Objection.
But even the accused himself has testified that he saw no one else in the room at the time. If you get a cord, string, fuse long enough, then you can set that up ahead of time. When there was a gun or a firecracker, the only person present to cause that bang was Bardock von Zeeks.
One whiff of a match and my firecrackers go pop. See? That's why people like them.
I fear for your fingers, young lady.
Objection.
Recently, during my time here in Britain, I've learnt of a very useful invention indeed. Something called a time bomb.
Good heavens, a bomb!
Yes, a device that allows you to blow up whatever you like, whenever you like. Mr. Naruto, I worry that your unfortunate phrasing there may lead to yet another international incident. No, wait. It's the whenever you like part that's important.
A time device.
Yes, exactly, a time device. Something of that nature could have been planted at the scene. A device that was able to produce the sound of a gunshot long after the culprit had left.
Your extravagant claim will have to be substantiated with evidence, counsel. What proof do you have to suggest in any way that a time device was employed to create the gunshot sound? The watch has been damaged. Nothing else would seem to be anything to do with that. There wasn't anything like that on here, right? No, it all looks fine. Fine and normal. And this was found under it, wasn't it?
Take that.
You're suggesting this could have been used as some sort of time delay device.
I did think so, my lord, but it's becoming increasingly clear that we've all been very misguided here.
Objection.
What are you talking about?
Yes, by you.
What?
No, counsel, the time has come for a penalty, without delay.
No time to clear the area before blast.
For evident claim will have to be substantiated.
What are you talking about?
That's not helpful. Introduction dismissal notice. That's just a picture. suppose you could have set it up with a candle somehow. You could have set it up with the candle.
Take that!
As the court has already discussed, the tip of one of the candles in this candelabrum has been blown off.
Indeed, because it was struck by the bullet, which presumably passed through the victim.
I don't think that's possible, my lord.
Not possible? Why?
Because of the scorching. There are gunpowder scorch marks clearly visible on the broken candle.
Ah, goodness, yes. But is it not the case that there was also scorching on the victim around the bullet entry wound?
That's right, there was, but as we heard earlier, scorching like that only occurs when the target is at very close range, a matter of centimeters from the gun.
Ah,
Which means that the scorching on the candle can't possibly be the result of a gunshot.
you're suggesting it came from the fireworks.
How can that be?
That's not the voice. I don't know what.
The fact that there's such visible scorching on the candle suggests that the fireworks must have been right next to it when they exploded. Or, to put it another way, the candle and firecrackers were joined together. The culprit somehow attached the firecrackers at a point partway down the candle. After the killer had left the scene, the candle slowly burnt down along with the other two, until eventually it ignited the fuse of the firecrackers, generating a loud bang. And that is how these three witnesses came to believe they'd heard a gunshot at 5 o'clock.
Well, what a plot. And this implies that the victim could have died earlier than we'd been led to believe. The previous day, even.
Now, just hold your horses. Dolozlaria saw the victim going into the building, remember?
I couldn't forget that flame-colored hair, even if I wanted to.
And the person you saw entering the building wasn't the victim at all. Consider this. Obviously, anybody can wear a wig. So the person that these witnesses saw entering the building 15 minutes before the incident occurred could easily have been someone else entirely, wearing the red hairpiece.
Someone else? Do you mean to say?
It was the same person who contrived the firecracker trick. In other words, Inspector Gregson's killer.
Oh, very impressive. Ryunosuke Naruhodo.
Kazuma?
I'm really quite amazed that you've come this far. But after all, wasn't I the one who told you that you had all the makings of a great defense lawyer? I also noted the lack of time of death in this report. Stark omission. But as far as I'm concerned, this whole country's justice system leaves a lot to be desired. Order! Prosecutor Asugi. What on earth do you mean by that statement? I hear that many of the leading members of Britain's judiciary are present to observe this trial today. So we cannot allow even the slightest doubt to be overlooked. The defense's assertion about the time of death based on the victim's stopwatch is just conjecture. But while the possibility exists that my learned friend may be correct, we have a duty to explore it. Well, certainly, I would agree with you. What immediately comes to mind is, of course, what was Inspector Gregson doing, and where did he go on the day before the incident?
Do you know?
The inspector always carried out his investigative work alone. His movements were treated as confidential within Scotland Yard. Even within the Yard. However, considering the evidence we've been presented with so far, it's fairly apparent what case the man was pursuing. Wouldn't you, my learned friend?
I do have a feeling about what case he might have been investigating. Yes, I agree. Surely. My lord, the defense believes it can be explained to the court the case that was being investigated by Inspector Gregson at the time of his death.
Very well, counsel. Present your argument to the court. What evidence is suggestive of the case being investigated by the inspector on the day prior to the incident? The everything.
Take that!
I can't say that I find your answer suggestive of anything in particular. Read it. What are you talking about? Other than perhaps it is utterly wrong, which you have clarified most expertly.
What?
Congratulations, Hironosuke Naruhodo. You deserve a reward for that expert display.
What are you talking about? Look at it. Did you just draw Karama on me, my friend? I think, Mr. Naruhodo, that there's one particular piece of evidence that really does stand out in showing what case Inspector Gregson was investigating. My lord, I have the answer now.
What do you mean?
Oh, my health.
Take that!
I didn't think that would help, but what do you mean that it's not the board? The board with all the things on it. Do you want this?
Take that!
Yes. That's on the board, also.
I believe this red hair piece points to the answer. We might assume it was part of a disguise used to carry out an undercover investigation.
Surely not. Such a brightly colored hairpiece would only serve to make the inspector more noticeable.
Yes, that's quite true. It would definitely have made him stand out in a crowd. Except that is in a crowd of gentlemen from the Red-Headed League.
The Red-Headed League? So, you already worked it out. What on earth is all this about? Is there such an extraordinary league of gentlemen? The Red-Headed League is currently under investigation for grand deception. Deception of what nature, Counsel? They have been targeting red-headed men across all of London and tricking them out of small sums of money. 2 men were arrested for the misdemeanor only yesterday, in fact.
My lord, the defense calls for those 2 men to be summoned at once.
2 redheads?
Inspector Gregson clearly infiltrated the Red-Headed League using this hairpiece, so it's very likely that he had direct contact with these criminals. and it's quite possible that such contact led to more serious events.
I concur that we cannot in good conscience leave this new avenue unexplored.
Well done, Mr. Naruhodo. Well, it's another possible line of inquiry for us at least.
Prosecution will make immediate arrangements for the charged men to appear. Bring these 2 Red-Headed League conspirators before me, Prosecutor Aosugi. Nah. At once, my lord. Very good. We will have a 30-minute recess. Court is adjourned.
Well,
Alright. 2nd of November, 12:33 p.m., the Old Bailey Defendant's Antechamber.
oh, there you are, though.
What kept you, my dear fellow?
Hello, Mr. Sholmes. Gina.
You sure about what you said in there? Not the boss, you know, actually died the day before. It's pretty hard to swallow.
Yes, I was shocked by the revelation too, Gina.
As was I. Possibly more shocked than both of you.
It's not a competition, Mr. Sholmes. But I was more shocked than all of you put together.
This is the autopsy report in question, is it?
Yes, it's strange that there's no time of death noted. I suppose there's a simple explanation, or perhaps it was a deliberate omission. Oh dear, if it was deliberate, it puts me in mind of the last case we worked on, and Dr. Scythe. I know. Anyway, it seems that on the day before Lord Von Zieks discovered the body, Inspector Gregson was investigating the Red-Headed League, so perhaps something happened with them. Come to think of it, you had trouble with those League men too, didn't you, Mr. Sholmes? You were taken in by their trick.
No. Naturally, I wasn't taken in, as he put it. My sleuth-hound interest was merely piqued slightly by the rare scent of a weekly 4-pound income.
And that scent masked the underlying scent of deception, I suppose. The 2 criminals in question are the pair we saw being arrested yesterday, aren't they? And Mr. Sholmes' suite, I mean.
That's right, Zeus. And it was me what took him in. Thanks to a tip-off by a good law-abiding citizen. Indeed, yours truly.
So it's going to be that pair on the witness stand next, is it? Something doesn't quite make sense to me, though. The day before Inspector Gregson was found, you hadn't had trouble with the Red-Headed League yet, hadn't you? Had you? Why would the inspector have been investigating them?
Well, the likely explanation would be that Gregson's own sleuth-hound interest was piqued by the rare scent of a weekly 4-pound income.
Don't tell him with the same rush as you, Sholmes. Yes, well... And there's the whole issue of Inspector Gregson being investigated by Lord Von Zieks for some reason. The Reaper, the Red-Headed League, Inspector Gregson, Lord Von Zieks, and Cosima. I feel as though he knew we'd arrive at this point somehow. Gosh, I think you're right. What's he really trying to achieve here today?
All the answers will soon be revealed. Observe the time, my dear fellow. The recess will be over very shortly.
Yes, you're right. Cosima was determined that he should be the one to prosecute this trial. And he was determined that I should take the defense. Just what is it that he's hoping to make me see, I wonder? I get the feeling we're a long way from the end of this trial yet. Are you ready then, Mr. Sato? Yes!
22nd of November, 1 p.m. The Old Bailey courtroom. In the name of Her Majesty the Queen, I hereby declare this court to be in session again. We resume the closed court hearing of Father Kwanzeeks, here present, who stands accused of murder. Now then, Prosecutor Aosugi. My lord, have you summoned the witnesses as requested? Yes, the two members of the Red-Headed League who planned and carried out the deception. I arrived not long ago from the local prison by police carriage. Very good. Bailiff, usher the two men into the courtroom. I was sort of under the impression that spaghetti one there was a child. These two men are currently being held by the police on suspicion of attempted extortion. You may omit your occupations, but state your names now for the court. I am Fabian de Rosso. Rosso? A descendant of the great Rosso family from Nice in France.
And my name is Peppino de Rossi. I am the third son of the great Familia de Rossi, landowners from Napoli.
The two men first became acquainted at a boarding school for European nobility. Those who graduate from Temsic as future leaders of Europe. Temsic. I can Ghost Trick. That's unrelated to anything actually happening given a university versus a meteorite, but Ghost Trick's a good game. I played it a while ago. But do you have any idea how boring it is to be born with noble blood? Alas, I'm making my mission to get the better of the world by employing the little gray cells of my brain. That is all I'm trying to do.
So, that's the only reason for this whole grand deception you've been carrying out?
Hey, you could say that.
Not bad, eh? There's the grand ideals with the petty plans. A strange combination is the charm of the hilarious brothers. See, Capo?
Listen to me, Peppino. I have two things to say to you.
Are you about to tell me what your grand anecdotes? Viva.
Firstly, I want you to stop calling me this couple. Secondly, you're not the hilarious brothers. This is serious business.
Oh, that is. The Capo's trump card, the furrowed brow. It's deep, Capo. The furrow and the meaning of your words.
The court has been led to believe that under the banner of the Red-Headed League, you have conspired to swindle money from unsuspecting members of the public. Is that true?
Oh, yes, sir.
What exactly was the nature of this deception by which you planned to defraud?
Lord, I will explain it. couple. Leave it to me. As you see, we both have vivid red hair, no? At school, we would teach for this without pity. The couple here, he was many times behind the schoolhouse crying that the Trevi fountain. The hairs as dog sons, he's supposed to expect us redheads. Respect. Every night he would bury his head on his pillow and says, Peppino, enough I will explain the rest. The first step was the newspaper advertisement. About 1 week before the plan was put into operation, we listed the same notice in every paper in London. Yes, we saw that notice. It was this one, I believe, entitled To the Red-Headed League. Yes, sir. I am honored that you have seen it. It states that the only condition for joining the league is having flame-colored hair. And that if you satisfy the interview panel and are admitted to the league, you could receive a weekly income of £4.
On the date specified, the red-headed hopefuls gathered in droves at a park specified in the advertisement. And from each person present, this pair took an application fee of 5 shillings. And with some money at France, it was planned most elegant, none. No, it was most dishonourable. But to be frank, I'm stunned that anybody was foolish enough to be taken in by such an obvious trick.
The park was described by one witness as choked with red-headed folk, like a coaster's orange barrow. Hush.
And the day on which all these men gathered to apply was the day before the victim was discovered. Crucially, these 2 men spoke face to face with every single person present that day.
Oh yeah, I've seen more red-headed people in one day than I will see in the rest of my life. See, and now, every time I see the couple's hair, I feel sick to my stomach. Anyway, why have we been summoned here today? Sorry?
The date of our trial was not until tomorrow, I was told. Naturally, neither of these men have been told any details about this trial. They've only been shown this photograph. Very good. So, Mr. De Rosso and Mr. De Rossi, you will now give your formal testimony to the court, for the court on the subject of the gentleman pictured in this photograph. Of course, we are always ready to help with the law. Why you talk so much? I was not prepared for whatever you're doing. Man in the photograph. We had more than 1,000 red-headed people assembled in the park on Lime Street that day.
But I don't recall the man in this photograph. Hey, couple?
No, I don't remember him. Obviously, he is dead now, but I assure you, he was not in the park. Is in the park.
The law of this victim has nothing to do with us.
We have a lot to answer for, Peppino. It is your fault that we got caught in the first place. You've given sworn testimony that this man in the photograph was not present. Can you be certain?
Oui, I'm quite certain.
We did not interview this man.
Nobody looking like this came to the park, I can promise.
It must be noted that you have been arrested for a grand deception, however. Accordingly, this court has little confidence in your assurances.
What's this attitude? We're getting nowhere. He's really sulking now.
This confidential document was obtained directly from Scotland Yard. It records an entry from the inspector's private diary dated the day before the incident. It reads, Lime Street, Red-Headed League. Undercover.
I have the answer. Maybe there was another similar event in the park on the day in question, eh?
That is ridiculous.
There's no question that Inspector Gregson was investigating the Red-Headed League. Which means it's quite possible that that's when he was killed.
Well, the defense may proceed with the cross-examination now.
Yes, my lord.
Man in the photograph. I had more than 1,000 red-headed people assembled in the park on Lime Street that day.
Hold it!
1,000 people? That's a very big crowd.
It was quite a spectacle. Redheads had come from all over the capital.
See, the couple here has a magnetissimus malay.
Magnetic animal. What?
Nobody else could attract so many people. If I could be born again, I would be the couple.
All those people wanted was the money, Peppino. It was £4 per week. Are you suggesting that you spoke personally with all 1,000 applicants? Oui, is that we did? Because every one of them paid us 5 shillings.
We take their names, so we can take their money. We take their addresses as well. And I tell them we take us some days to let them know by a post. If finito, maybe 2 minutes a person.
We start early in the morning and we stop late at night.
So you earned 5,000 shillings in one day? It's a small fortune.
I would have thought there were 1,000 such gullible redheads in London to start with.
One of whom was a great detective with chemically altered hair.
And I don't recall the man in this photograph, Capo.
Hold it!
He doesn't look at all familiar. No, I don't think so. Just a wig, eh? He was trying to trick us.
I do not like the people who try to trick the other people.
Says the con artist.
If between them they interviewed 1,000 people with red hair, it would be unreasonable to expect them to remember every face.
No, senor. I may be small, but my memory is very large. I never forget a thing. In my opinion, I do not think this man was in the park. But he's not going to give the court a definite, it seems. Hey, Capo, you didn't see me a man like this, huh?
Sitting up better. Oh, I don't remember him. Obviously, he is dead now, but I assure you he was not in the park.
Hold it!
But according to what you've said, you spoke with 1,000 or more people that day.
I haven't been told anything, but they've been shown the picture. He looks very dead in that picture. I feel like that's a reasonable statement. A lot of blood. Please, it's true. My eyes were burning by the end of that day.
Surely, then, you can't actually remember every single face. How were you so certain that this particular man wasn't present?
Normally, the redheads are distinctive, eh? Not when you have 1,000 redheads crawling around, then it's just an eyesore. But if there was some other information you could give us, maybe then we would recall. That is not the line, Peppino. Remember, we do not remember him. We are sure of that fact. If there was a man with a red hairpiece, but his mustache did not match the color, then I do not think I could have forgotten him.
Ozma said that these two had only been shown that photograph and they'd been told nothing else at all. What if I fed them just one other detail about the victim? For example...
I would have used a fake name and wouldn't have told him he was from the police.
I can certainly appreciate that just knowing the man had red hair wouldn't help you remember in this situation. But what if I told you the man was always munching on a packet of fish and chips? Do you remember a man who was eating incessantly?
Not really. I was looking only at the heads of the applicants. I would have noticed the fish and chips any more than the caviar and smoked salmon.
Oh, spaghetti! Me, I love spaghetti. Really? I had no idea.
Tell them again what you said before, Peppino.
See, couple C. I'll say it again and again.
Okay, so not that.
Law as a victim has nothing to do with us.
I'll have to go back to that, I suppose.
But we only have your word for that. See, but what else can we do?
True.
We are not having much fun these days. Once we are arrested, then we are shown the horrible picture of a dead man. Now you question every single thing we say. We are the victims here. I couple?
No, you were caught carrying out a plot to swindle hundreds of innocent people.
You had to bring that up, eh? It's not fair. I couple.
You have a lot to answer for, Peppino. It is your fault so we got caught in the first place.
Hold it!
What do you mean by that?
Cavolo!
You promised not to say, eh, couple?
After we had taken all the money that day, we should have left the country. That was my plan. I left the purchasing of the tickets for the ferry to Dunkerque. To my companion here. I guess that's a place. Somewhere. But he bought them for the wrong day.
Oops. See, but this is an easy mistake to make, huh? The first is 31st.
I have no sympathy for you. I ran all day late for the boat because of your stupidity. And it's only because of this that the so-called great red-headed detective caught us.
Couple, you know what I think? It's the work of God. It's a holy punishment, eh?
Pino, for the last time. This is not only punishment. This is only your fault.
Ah.
Don't blame God for your unholy mistakes. You are making me sick with anger.
Maybe I make a mistake. But when it's time to eat the pasta, no one's faster. I've seen the evidence.
These guys are annoying.
They haven't told us much we didn't already know. What do you think, Mr. Naruhodo? Well, if it wasn't the inspector's diary, it seems likely that he must have gone to Lime Street that day. And yet, these two both claim they didn't see him. I have to say, they don't appear to be telling lies. Well, they are experts in deception, don't forget. Sounding plausible is their specialty. They may be lying simply to avoid being implicated in this case as well. Surely if they were truly experts in deception, they wouldn't have been caught. Well, yes, you do have a point there. It seems to me like we need more information. Definitely.
Hold it!
Okay.
I can certainly appreciate that just knowing the man had red hair wouldn't help you remember in this situation. What if I told you that the man in the red hair piece was actually a detective?
This man is a photograph, a detective.
Yes.
It would appear that he found your notice in the paper suspicious and decided to investigate incognito. Sorry, but this changes nothing.
Excuse me.
Something to add, Mr. DeRossi? See, I am always adding something. Parmesan, olive oil, pepper, Parmesan. Parmesan's really good.
Like if you get shredded and not like the powdery stuff you can get in those containers.
It's like very dry. It's very good. What I mean is, did you not agree with your friend's last remark by any chance? What did he just say? About the detective? Yes, that.
Keep your mouth shut, Peppino. You have said enough already.
But why, Capo? What is the problem? There was a man who said, I am an inspector from Scotland Yard. What did...
Good lord. Box. Order. Explain this volte-face in your testimony, witness.
It's simple. A man who was at the park said to us that he was
There was no such man.
I tell you, what are you saying, Capo? Have you forgotten, eh?
I have forgotten nothing. Nobody like us came to the park.
Basta, Capo, basta. You beat me at many things, but not two. The memory and the meals. Like I said, when it's time to eat the pasta, no one is faster.
But you are inferior to me in every other way, so shut up.
Objection.
This damage is done. Indeed it is, sir. There was a man who came to the park and said he was an inspector from Scotland Yard. However, he looked nothing like the man in the photograph. He was someone else.
How can you be so sure?
Because, to start with, his face was completely different.
See, it's true. The man who came was younger. His face was clean shaven, his eye was so sadder, his chin was thinner.
No resemblance whatsoever, then. Anyway, he was not going to be fooled, and I took the obvious precaution and said to him, if you're really a detective, show us the proof.
See, the capo here, he doesn't take no nonsense, eh?
But he was well prepared. He said he had identification.
Identification? You mean the official police inspector's identification?
That is most unconvincing.
Sorry, my lord?
Counsel, no incognito inspector would offer his identification for inspection. It's quite out of the question. Definitely. Why would he expose his true identity? Clearly, the papers were fake.
Certo, capo, you are a genius. As we say in Italia, it takes a thief to recognize another, eh? And what happened after he announced that he was a detective?
He became very annoying. He said, you are under investigation. So I took his papers from him and chased him out of the park.
That's fantastical! Look, here's the identification.
So you stole it from the man.
He had it coming. He made us very scared. But he was not who he said he was.
Indeed, the person described does not appear to have behaved as a true inspector would. However, I believe it would be prudent for these identification papers to be entered into evidence.
But I like them.
Inspector's identification has been entered in the court record. The identification of a man claiming to be a detective inspector confiscated by Mr. De Rosso, and Mr. De Rossi. Now, let us return to the witness's testimony. Oh, yes. I'd like to see this. Metropolitan Police Warrant Card. Looks a bit old. All worn out. Can I open it up?
Well, I suppose we should see what this inspector's identification looks like inside.
Illegible.
Yes, it definitely looks fake, doesn't it? Out of interest, what name is given? Probably just something plucked out of the air. It's Tobias Gregson. Wait, what? This Scotland Yard insignia looks genuine to me. But how? The department and identification number details are all correct as well. Since when have you known those? Do you mean to say? I know it seems incredible, but yes. I think this is a genuine identification book issued by Scotland Yard. But that's unbelievable. This is the real thing after all?
The details of the inspector's identification have been updated in the court record. But if the guy didn't look anything like him, maybe that was the killer and they stole it? That'd be a dumb thing to do. Killed a man, come to this thing, show them the paper from the man you killed. For what? Why? That doesn't make sense. Well, his papers sure were. You had them. One of these is the one to show it to, I suppose. I'll say it does have something to do with you. You have his identification. This looks fine and accurate and correct, and you shouldn't have it.
Objection!
I wonder if I could ask you to examine this identification book very closely. Miss Lestrade.
Why, Miss Lestrade? What is your intention here, counsel?
Is this really a fake, or is it genuine? That's a question, which we can't answer ourselves.
Objection!
Don't be ridiculous. No Scotland Yard detective would allow his or her identification to be stolen. That is the boss's. No question about it. Can't be.
As I suspected. The undercover detective who attended the Red-Headed League's enrollment on the day in question was the real Inspector Gregson, carrying out an incognito investigation.
It's a loss. Oh, goodbye. Order! But if the boss had his identification stolen,
He would have reported it straight away. He was always on me about it. If you lose some, report it at once, he'd say. Could it be, then, that the inspector was physically unable to report it? Physically? Hey, what are you saying?
unable to. You're not suggesting.
Yes, it's quite possible that he was killed before he had a chance to report his identification stolen.
No. Order!
The defense posits that the victim was killed the day before his body was discovered, at a different location. Do you two have anything to say about that?
know nothing. I've done nothing. I'm not making that noise. Pull yourself together, Peppino. How dare you behave a little more like a master criminal than that, no? Now I wish I had a tongue to tell you. Stop crying, Peppino, please. Otherwise, Oh, stop your whining and start talking. Well, I believe the court will need to hear your story, and I know nothing. I know nothing. In considerably greater detail. But you will tell everything, or face the worst possible outcome. You will draw your eyes and testify again. About these identification papers and the precise circumstances under which you came by them. Crying out loud. Please stop that. The detective and the identification. This is the truth is, you took him prisoner and kept him for the night at our secret hideout. Even though I didn't think he was a real detective, I was too scared to let him go that day, just in case. We took the man's identification from him and shut him in the room next to ours. So it might have been a little tussle, but we did him no harm, and the next morning we let him go. He spent the night in a nice room. It was nothing like prison, really. This is outrageous. You imprisoned the man. But no, see, no. It was not like a prison. It was a very comfortable and calm and happy. A couple. It was never part of my plan. I just swear it. Oh, God. So you think it was my fault, eh? It's because I got the dates of the ferry wrong. It's just by one little day. Do not think it was your fault, Peppino. I know it. No. The full couple is not fair. You shall have plenty of time for squabbling back at the prison, gentlemen. I don't believe this. How could he have been a real detective? Counsel for the defense, proceed with the cross-examination. So on the day before the incident, Gregson spent the night confined in this pair's hideout. That explains the watch not being wound up at the very least. The truth is, we took him prisoner and kept him for the night at our secret hideout. Do you realize what you're saying? You have to believe me, I never intended for that to happen. And I just showed the detective did not intend it either. You think? But there was nothing else I could do. See, nothing else. This was the first crime for the couple. He was at the end of his wits. I have told you before, Peppino, that is not the way to describe a criminal mastermind. What about this hideout of yours? An old empty house behind the park on Lime Street. We rented the place for 2 days. It was an inspired idea by the couple here. An impulsive idea, I would say. No, not impulsive, inspired. Hey, couple. What am I supposed to say to that, Peppino? And it was in the house described that you confined Inspector Gregson, was it? This way. You have to remember, I was under the impression that he was a pretender, not a real inspector. That doesn't quite add up, though. If you didn't think the man was a real inspector, there would have been no reason to take him prisoner, would there? No, you were right, but we couldn't be completely certain. Even though I didn't think he was a real detective, I was too scared to let him go that day. Just in case.
Hold it!
Too scared? Why?
Because, why he gone to the park? We didn't know. There was a chance that he'd seen through my plan. If that was the case, he would go straight to the police station to blow the whistle on us. Even if he was just feigning to be an inspector, he was up no good, huh? Without a doubt. I think most people would agree that it's you two who are up no good. Well, see, you may be right. Hi, couple. The point is, we were not able to escape from England immediately. That is why we had no choice but to take the man prisoner.
What I don't understand is why the inspector felt the need to show you his identification in the first place.
See, I asked myself the same question. We were writing down the names and the addresses of all the people who we took 5 shillings from that day. I have forgotten what name he said, but the address startled me. See, the address, Scotland Yard Homicide Division, he said.
What?
He probably didn't like your face, Peppino. Anyway, I was not rude, I just politely asked him why he had said it. And that's when he started to say he was an inspector. Not long afterwards, he took out his identification.
What was Inspector Gregson playing at?
Tell the court what happened next. You took him back to your hideout, you say? See, we did! I took the man's identification from him and shut him in the room next to us.
Hold it!
That being this identification book here, correct?
See, this is the one. What made you believe that it was a forgery? I'd never seen a real one, of course. But he was so suspicious, this man. And Laura, I was thinking, it must be Fossil. Hey, Captain? Capo? Not Captain. Wait, it is just as Peppino has said. We were convinced it was not genuine. So together, the hilarious brothers, we took the man captive. All we did was shove him inside a locked room. Then we made preparations to transport all the money.
In for a penny, in for a pound.
There might have been a little tussle, but we did him no harm. And the next morning, we let him go.
Hold it!
What do you mean by a little tussle exactly?
It was nothing. Just a minor incident. The Fossil Inspector, he was a real piece of work, eh, Capel?
What happened?
It was a disaster. We give him a nice room, and what does he do? In the middle of the night, he tries to escape through the ventilator.
Can you blame him?
We chased him, but sure, we caught him again. Can you blame us?
Wait, you didn't shoot the man in your haste, did you?
So, who do you think we are? Of course not. I could simply caught all of him again and took him back to his room.
Excuse me.
Mr. DeVrosi, there's something wrong.
It's me.
Something, Mr. Derozo. Mr. Derozo. Something Mr. Derozo just said seemed to make you, well, it seemed to make you act even more strangely than usual. What was that all about?
Carlo, at times like that, you don't want to have the couple after you, believe me. And I speak from personal experience now.
Personal experience?
That is enough, Peppino. There is no need for you to say more.
The truth is, the night before we put the red-headed leak plan into action, I was scared. It's not fair to the couple, but I tried to run away. It's a shame you didn't manage it. There's a capo here. He came after me like the Taliban. He dragged me back to the house, kicking and screaming. I still have the bruises to prove it. Capo.
Bruises, you say?
Oh, you wanna see you? You wanna see my fantastical bruises?
That's enough now, Peppino. No one wants to look at any part of you.
What to do, huh? I show you or don't. I show you or I don't.
You do, now.
I love everybody wants to see that I do it. Echo, you see? It's still very visible, eh?
That red ring around your neck. You got that when you were dragged back to the house.
See, the capo, sometimes he's very rough and it's enough.
Peppino's neck has nothing to do with what we were talking about here. You have my word. Yes, what is your opinion, counsel?
About this red ring around Mr. DeRossi's neck. I wonder, does it matter?
It is. Gregson didn't have that, but we did see someone who did. Gossip, was it?
Mr. DeRossi, I'm going to have to ask you to amend your testimony with details about that mark on your neck.
Hi, capo, you see? Everyone is interested in what I say, huh?
Very well, you will amend your testimony as requested, Mr. DeRossi.
Say see if you really want to know. He tried to escape, but the capo put a collar on him and dragged him back like what he did to me, huh? See?
Hold it!
Collar.
Are you saying that red mark was caused by...
See a big collar made from the leather.
a leather collar?
Is this true, Mr. DeRosso?
We had a St. Bernard at home when I was younger. There's a souvenir from that time. This is a very strong chain.
Strong chain.
And you put that around your friend's neck?
I'm sorry, Dad was so angry that he was leaving me alone. You did not have to tie the chain to the leg of the bed, though. I would not have tried to run again.
You didn't do that to Inspector Gregson as well, did you?
Treat the people equally. Here's a couple here's motto, yeah? Eh?
Did it have a lock? Usually those things are easily openable by a human hand. They're just... dogs don't have hands. Starting to sound a lot more like a prison all of a sudden.
The couples are tough. Oh, the couples are rough.
I shouldn't have done it.
So, the following morning, when you release the inspector...
He had a red ring on his neck, just like me.
Peppino, s'il vous plaît.
S'il vous plaît.
I don't know French.
Leave it now. Oh, you know, the couple here, you don't want to tangle with him, eh? But for the inspector, it's not so bad. He spends his nights in a nice room. There's nothing like prison, really. Oops. I didn't mean to hit that button.
Not much to go on, really. Her testimony does make me wonder, you know. About this pocket watch belonging to the inspector, I mean. Yes, the one he treasured so much, apparently. If he was confined but not restrained, as the witnesses are implying, he would still have been able to wind his watch. That's very true, yes. So did Inspector Gregson actually die when he was being held captive by these redheads? In which case, is it possible that these two young men are responsible for Inspector Gregson's? To be honest, I find that hard to believe. Perhaps we should try to find out exactly what happened. Very wise, Mr. Naruhodo, yes.
Hold it!
No, I didn't mean to push that button. I pushed the wrong button. I heard all this. Please stop talking. Ding, ding, ding. Anyway, I think what we need is the picture. Yeah, you can see his neck fairly decently. It's not there.
Objection!
So, the day before his body was discovered, Inspector Gregson was taken prisoner while working incognito.
No, it was not like that. It was only a present. It was an invitation to say. It was only...
However you describe it, there's one glaring inconsistency that remains.
What inconsistency is this, counsel?
I would ask the court to look closely at this photograph of the victim, Inspector Gregson. You will see that there is no red ring visible around his neck.
But that makes no sense. It was me who took the collar off as a man in the morning. And I saw the red bruises on his neck just like I have.
Given that the mark is still clearly visible on this witness's neck, we'd expect to see bruising on the victim who was put in the collar more recently than Mr. DeRossi.
Indeed, that is most peculiar. But what do we tell you, huh? What do we tell you, huh? We say this at the beginning many times. Peppino's right. The man in the photograph is someone different to the man we had captured at night. Order. It would appear then that on the day before the incident, the man who visited the park on Lime Street posing as an incognito inspector was not Inspector Gregson at all.
Objection!
If that's true, however, how do you explain the inspector's identification? This is a genuine identification book issued by Scotland Yard. It's inconceivable that someone could have stolen such an important item from the inspector. The prosecution made that assertion itself. And we also know that the inspector had made a note about the Red-Headed League in his diary for that day. Which surely means we can't divorce the two events completely.
Inconsistency noted by the defense is most troubling. If it were the real Inspector Gregson whom these two red-headed gentlemen encountered, the fact that no bruising can be seen around his neck defies explanation. But equally, if they actually encountered an imposter, how did that person come to be in possession of the real Inspector's identification? Does the defense have some plausible explanation, counsel?
The whole thing defies explanation. It is for precisely these occasions that we keep meticulous notes in the court record, Mr. Naruhodo. Because those are the facts, and the facts cannot lie. No, the facts can't lie. Even when they point to something so incredible, it's almost unbelievable. Well, my lord, the true identity of the person who turned up in the park for the Red-Headed League's enrollment is revealed by information in the court record, I believe.
Good gracious! Very tantalizing, Mr. Naruhodo. So why don't you help us all to see whatever truth it is that you've apparently seen? Who exactly was this inspector that appeared before Mr. DeRosso and Mr. DeRossi? We have it. It's the guy.
Though it seems incredible, I admit, the undeniable facts point to only one thing. Since no bruising can be seen on the victim's neck, the person who these two red-headed men took prisoner that day cannot have been Inspector Gregson.
In other words, your whole argument up to now has been a waste of time.
Objection.
On the contrary, I haven't finished.
What?
There's no bruising on the victim's neck, so the question immediately posed next is, who exactly was this man in the park on Lime Street found to be carrying Inspector Gregson's identification?
See, that's right. We tell the same story every time. Whoever this man was, this is a couple dragged him from the pillar to the post with that dog collar. Mon Dieu, Peppino, was not so harsh as you say, huh? So who was that false inspector, eh? Who was he? Clearly, the defense has an idea about that. About the true identity of the man who these two imprisoned that night. I must ask the counsel for the defense to elaborate post-haste. Who did the witnesses encounter in the park posing as Inspector Gregson? Where's he at? You there.
Take that!
Goodness me, isn't that...
One of the witnesses who was in the stand in this very courtroom earlier today. A nameless man whose only occupation appears to be peddling hearsay to passersby.
Objection.
What on earth will the street seller be doing with the police inspector's identification papers? Witnesses, is this the man or not? What has happened to his lip?
See, this man is not for the red-headed league, eh? He is looking for the twisted lip league, no?
Perhaps rather than making such a rash claim next time, you should bite your lip instead.
It seems improbable, yes, but one undeniable fact remains. During his testimony earlier, I noted something around the man's neck. A red ring of bruising.
What?
The defense demands that Mr. Gossip be brought back to the stand.
Order. Bailiff, bring the aforementioned witness back into the courtroom. Immediately. Well, I never. An undeniable ring of bruising indeed. Identical to that of the witness beside him. Oh, what's going on here, eh? I always had this me. It's a birthmark, isn't it? It's only on the front.
A birthmark, you say?
So, the reason you've been recalled to the stand has been explained to you. Something about Inspector again. I'm telling you, you got her wrong as usual.
You're denying all knowledge of it.
Of course I am. Are you trying to kill me with all this nonsense, eh? Well, at least you'll have more stories to peddle back on Fresno Street, won't you? Now, we're going to need you to testify again.
And you, Mr. Deroso and Mr. Derosi. I'm sure you'll cooperate, won't you?
Do we have any choice? We're in a big trouble, eh, Capo? It's quite enough dilatory chatter. Proceed with the testimony. Not seen that word before. The inspector and the identification visited. This man who claimed to be an inspector that day, it was definitely not this man.
That's right, see? You think we'd forget this grand lips, huh?
I never leave Fresno Street, alright? I have no interest in any red-headed league. I'm all alone in the world, me. I have no kinfolk or nothing. Why would I be involved in something like that?
Just look at me, yeah? Does it look like I carry off a disguise with a face like this? If the face itself were the disguise, it would certainly appear that we have the wrong man. What have I been telling you, huh? There was no need for this pointless testimony. That's right, I'm just a simple peddler, remember? Fresno Street's all I know. How do I make a... How would I have come by a police inspector's identification book, eh? Well, yes, that's hard to explain, but... Brief cross-examination, I think, counsel. Very brief. Is there anyone in this courtroom who thinks I might be onto something? I stand steadfastly at your side as always, Mr. Naruhodo. The man who claimed to be inspector that day was definitely not this man.
Hold it!
So you say, but how can you be quite so certain? There's no need to hurt your hands on the desk, monsieur. Surely the reason is obvious, huh? Because I have never before seen lips like this. Nevertheless, there's a clear red mark around Mr. Gossip's neck. And it looks very much like that left behind on the neck of your colleague by your prized caller. What do? With your words, it's like you try to wring my neck. It does look very much like my neck, though, eh? Oh no, this is a birthmark, lad. The biggest lips in London and a neck to die for. Hey, they broke the mold when they made me. Well, it was the first time in my life. I feel lucky to have been born with red hair. And I thought being Japanese made you stand out in London. So you maintain that you've never seen this man before? Oh, yes, yes, sir. I swear it by the flames of my hair. So, fierce pride has outgrown the frustration with your hair now, has it? So I see. You think we would forget those grand lips, huh?
Hold it!
Well, yes, I don't imagine I'll forget those lips in a hurry either. That is what I'm saying, for some reason. It makes me want to eat, how does Fabian call it? An eclair. You know, I've never seen hair as black as yours before either. Likewise, I've never seen red hair like yours until I came to Britain. See, maybe it's a national trait, huh? Maybe all the people from this man's country have the grand lips. No, lad, I was born right here on Fresno Street and I've never left. Ugh, that is the problem, see? So you definitely didn't go to the park on Lime Street that day, Mr. Gossip. How many times do you want me to say it, eh? I never leave Fresno Street, alright? I've got no interest in any red-headed league.
Hold it!
So, you'd heard of the Red-Headed League, had you? You don't get a name like Gossip for nothing, eh? It's my business to know what's going off in town. I sold that tasty tidbit to a fair few redheads that came past me. As between us, I even got sandwiched to golf up for it. Well, he does have a very red nose, if that counts. Who knows? I don't see any reason they would have turned him down. They're just trying to scam money out of people. But as you can see, my own ass not got a hint of red in it. And in any case, Fresno Street's my patch. You won't catch me sidling off to some other part of town. No, sir, not likely. Oh,
Excuse me.
you've seen him elsewhere? Mr. Dedo So. Can I help you? Did Mr. Gossip's words just now lead you to remember something relevant, perhaps? It was the other day when I was looking for a place near the park, a small house or something. To be the headquarters of your Van Hedden League, yes. I visited an housing agent on Lime Street and there I saw him. This man was paying money to the agent.
What? Mr. Gossip with the housing agent?
Oh, he had some kind of contract in his hand and they were clearly discussing terms.
But no, you're mistaken, John. I've never left Fresno Street, me, like I said before.
You've mistaken me for someone else, someone with the same face.
No, this couple's right. I remember too. It was paying the man with the banknotes.
The notes?
Like I said, that was me.
I was curious why this man with the dirty clothes had so much money. So I looked at the name on the papers.
And what name was written? Mr. Gossip?
No, this man, he lies. He tells you that he has no name. But in fact, his name is Hugh Boone. That's better than Mr. Gossip, I think, see?
Oh!
I'm a peddler of tidbits and information, like I said, on Fresno Street, and that's that. I don't much like talking about my personal life. Indeed. And it is not the intention of the court to invade the privacy of the witnesses. Very well, I shall respect your wishes, sir. The aforementioned name shall be redacted from all court records of this trial, assuming no objections. Objection. Have you been paying any attention at all, ever?
I'm sorry, my lord, but the defense does object. Because the name just mentioned has a very deep significance to this case.
Good gracious. Do you similarly object, Prosecutor Oski? As it happens, my lord, that particular name has already been mentioned during today's proceedings. But I never. In what capacity?
Hugh Boone, the name of the leaseholder of the room. Let me put this very simply. The victim's body was discovered in your rented room.
I suggest, sir, that you start talking.
Well, it's all right. I suppose that might be the case. So your real name is Hugh Boone?
Well, let's change his box.
Oh, just between us. I don't like to blow my own trumpet, but there's no finer peddler of tidbits in town. So I happen to be able to afford a grubby little room in a fallen down back street townhouse.
You do?
And once every 6 months, I go and pay the rent to the agent on Lime Street. I remember now. There were 2 vulgar redheads in there last time.
Aye, well, the rest is vulgar to not me. Think again, Peppino. Why didn't you bring this up before?
It's like I told you already. I don't like talking about my personal life. I'm a tidbit peddler as far as everyone else is concerned. No fuss.
You will update your testimony to include this most surprising revelation, Mr. Boone.
If I must.
So the leaseholder Scotland Yard's been looking for since the body was discovered. It's been here under our noses all along.
I rent the room where the fellow was found. It's true. For what difference it makes.
Hold it!
It makes a big difference. Why was he in your room? So you live in that room, presumably, do you? No, I don't live there. What do you think? There's no bed, is there? Just a desk. And then, why would you want to rent it? Well, I don't think I should have to say, really.
And how about the notice board in there? Which was covered from top to bottom in confidential documents only the police should have had access to. No, that board's not mine. The inspector must have brought it along. It's only the other bits and bobs that belong to me, the desk and the chair and that.
People don't generally carry enormous notice boards around with them. The real question is, why was Inspector Gregson killed there in your room?
Well, obviously, I have not the faintest idea. I mean, it's causing me no end of bother, to be honest.
It seems to me that Mr. Boone would rather as little is known about his room as possible for some reason. Yes, it does come across that way, and more importantly, knowing that the scene of the crime is actually his room completely changes things. In particular, there's one part of his testimony that's really bothering me now. That's how I'm finally going to undo this man.
I'm all alone in the world, me. Have no kinfolk or nothing. Why would I be involved in something like that?
You mean you have no family?
No, not at all. So I spend my days on Fresno Street peddling tidbits for passers-by. Hoping, just between us this is, eventually someone else with lips like mine will come along.
I don't think so.
You may be right.
Anyway, that mark on your neck is just too much of a coincidence for us to ignore.
What's a fella to do then, eh? If you don't believe me, we're at an impasse. And there's nothing I can do but flick me lip.
It looks like I'm not going to get anywhere here unless I can produce some proof.
You're basically saying I got dressed up and posed as some fancy inspector, aren't you? Well, it's beyond me how you think I could do that. Just look at me, eh? I look like I could carry off a disguise with a face like this. I don't want to prod you about your face. Look at this picture I found. You've done something to your face, I suppose, is what's happening here.
Objection!
Here's your wife you've been lying to.
If you have no kinfolk, as you put it, then explain why it is that among the sparse furnishings, we found this photograph in the room. I presume, as you've been renting the room, that this photograph belongs to you, does it not?
Oh, well...
Mr. Boone, drop the pretense and tell the court exactly who you really are.
I don't know what you mean. I'm a peddler, I keep telling you so. You really don't need to bother with me. Please, just leave it alone. As the man says, leave it alone. Whatever the truth is about this man's life, it has no bearing on this case. Because it's simply not possible that he impersonated Inspector Gregson.
Objection!
How can you be so sure?
Just look at the man. No amount of disguise could ever hide those unmissable features.
Objection!
But what if we were to look at this the other way around?
What do you mean? Yes, counsel, what do you mean?
Well, there's no denying that Mr. Boone's lip is very prominent indeed. But consider the possibility that his prominent lip is itself part of an elaborate disguise. And hiding that prominent feature, in other words, revealing his true face, would make an utterly impenetrable disguise. Wouldn't you agree, Mr. Hugh Boone?
Witness, you're still hiding the truth from this court.
If that's a disguise, then underneath it, his true identity must be. Yes, that's right. There's really only one person he could really be.
My lord, the defense believes it can reveal Mr. Boone's true identity to the court.
No, please, no. Very well then, counsel. What is the true identity of this peddler who goes simply by the name of Gossip on the street? Hello.
Take that!
Your real name is actually Mr. Vigil, isn't it? Mr. Daily Vigil.
Daily. I don't recall that name, counsel. Who is this Mr. Vigil?
It's a name I encountered yesterday, my lord. It has to do with a certain client of Mr. Herlock Sholmes. A young gentlewoman came to the detective asking him to locate her missing husband. The woman in this photograph, in fact. This is Mrs. Vigil.
What?
From what I understand, you haven't returned home since the night before the inspector was found dead. Of course, on that night, you were being held captive by the two red-headed league men.
And last night, you were put up by the prosecution service in preparation for testifying in this trial. Because we'd been led to believe that you, Miss Venus, and Mr. Sandwich were all homeless. Being important witnesses in this case, we needed to know where we could find you, of course.
And that explains why you've not only been unable to return home, but also unable to contact your wife, who's been beside herself with worry waiting for you at the Vigil residence.
No, just hold on a minute. I don't have the first idea
what I'm talking about, really. It's a simple enough matter to confirm my suspicions. All we have to do is pull off that disguise.
No, please. Bailiff, bring soap, a sponge, and a washbowl at once. Mr. De Rousseau and Mr. De Rossi, you will restrain the witness. Hey, my lord. It's fine. Here's these two criminals. They can do it. No, stop. Get off, please. Don't. What happened to your hair? It was longer than that a minute ago. Well, you're now seeing your true features, I presume. You also got changed. Lift your head, sir, so the court can see your face. It would appear that the defense counsel's assertion was entirely correct. This has all been a very elaborate deception. So, witness, tell the court, have you seen this man before?
I don't believe it, but... See, there's no question. This is the inspector we saw in the park.
Extraordinary.
On the day of the Red-Headed League enrollment, the man claiming to be Inspector Gregson who appeared before Mr. De Rousseau and Mr. De Rossi in the park
was you disguised as the inspector, or rather, was you posing as the inspector in no disguise at all.
Mr. Vigil was formerly employed as the chief warder at Barclay Prison.
Chief warder? Then your career had promise. Why, you would quite possibly become the future governor of the prison. What on earth have you been doing peddling tittle-tattle on Fresno Street?
Well, it's been 10 years since Mr. Vigil worked at the prison.
10 years. I'm really dreadfully sorry about all this.
Yes, it's true. I am daily vigil. And you were the chief warder at Barclay Prison 10 years ago. So where did Mr. Hugh Boone come from? Boone is the other me. It's the name I invented. Well, evidently there's a great deal under the surface here. I'll explain everything. I'll tell you just how wretched my life has become. As you say, it's 10 years ago now that my employment at as Barclay's chief warder came to an end. Having left the prison service, I searched for some new occupation by which to earn a wage. Times were hard in London, and I found no suitable engagements at all. In desperation one day, I turned my hand at selling wares on Fresno Street.
But your wife appears to know nothing of this. She still maintains that you are the chief warder at Barclay Prison.
I was utterly determined that my wife should not know of my failings, which is why I've never told her. I opened an account at the bank under the name of Hugh Boone, and I rented the cheapest room I could find on Fresno Street.
The scene of the very crime we're investigating.
Yes, that's right. A place from which I could emerge every morning at 8 as a squalid peddler, and transform myself back every evening at 5 into a well-dressed man about town before returning home. I don't feel like that's gonna make enough money to maintain what's going on. That quickly became my daily routine. I was puzzled by the lack of furniture in the room, but that explains it.
But why on earth didn't you just tell us this in the first place?
I have a wife, sir, and 2 sons. Without wishing to sound self-conceited, they regard me with some pride. I couldn't bring myself to disappoint them.
So instead, you decided to conceal your occupation from them?
Yes. I've made such a terrible mess of everything. Still, one thing doesn't add up. No matter how many tin bits of information you could sell to passing gentlemen, even at 6 pence apiece, you couldn't hope to match the salary you must have commanded as chief warder at the prison. Very true. To have kept your family in comfort despite 10 years of somewhat misbegotten employment. That was all thanks to Inspector Gregson.
What? Inspector Gregson? What on earth?
It was some years after I'd invented Boone and began my other life as a street seller. The inspector, that is, recognized me one day. Do you mean to say the victim was an acquaintance of yours? I knew him from my time working at the prison. When he saw what I'd become, he was deeply troubled for me and my family. And from that day forward, he visited me on Fresno Street with increasing regularity. And one day, he asked me if I would carry out a secret assignment for him.
A secret? What was it?
I was to impersonate the inspector. What? Impersonate him? We always met in that little room so the inspector could brief me. The Orxes tomorrow. Take a statement from the proprietress. It was always something along those lines, surveillance work, interviewing people. On those occasions, he would lend me his identification so people would believe who I was. My instructions were to make an impression, to let people know that Inspector Gregson had been at work. For those services, he compensated me financially.
Scotland Yard inspector willingly relinquished his identification into your care with intent to deceive.
I can speak.
That, as I'm sure I need not point out, is a very serious criminal offense.
Hold on.
Putting on more chapstick. But why? What was the point of you impersonating him?
I truthfully do not know. All I can say is that the inspector warned me on numerous occasions.
And remember, Visual, I need your solemn word. Don't blab about this to anyone, alright? Ever. Even if, well, if I end up a croaker.
In time, he started to bring papers with him to the room as well. It became something of a second office for him.
So, in fact, the person who declared himself to be Inspector Gregson at the park on Lime Street was really...
Yes, it was me, acting on the inspector's orders. As usual, I removed my boon disguise, and then went as instructed to the park, armed with the inspector's identification book. It never occurred to me that the bruise on my neck might give me away.
Well, it seems confession completely destroys the defense's case. Explain yourself, Prosecutor Oski. My learned friend's assertion was as follows. The victim was killed in another location on the day before his corpse was discovered. At the hands of these two red-headed League men where they imprisoned the inspector.
No, that can't be. After all, it wasn't the inspector who went to the park that day. It was me.
Oh, goodness.
Finally, we have clarity. We had nothing to do with the murder of the inspector. And merci, Monsieur la Defense, for proving it. Order! Indeed, it would appear that we have reached a de facto conclusion of sorts. These witnesses had no involvement in the murder of the victim. As proven, somewhat ironically, by the defense. I hereby call an end to the cross-examination.
Hold it!
Pardon me, my lord, but with your permission, I would like to pose one further question to the witness.
Kazuma?
A question, counsel. It concerns the events of 10 years ago. I believe you would have been present at a very significant execution that was carried out at the time. and years ago.
The execution of the professor, Genshin Asugi.
I want to know exactly what your involvement was. Oh! Answer me, man. One moment, Counsel. Is this related to the current case? Naturally. It is the prosecution's belief that this case and the events of 10 years ago are inextricably linked.
True.
Does the defense concur, Counsel?
Kazuma, you're not yourself. You're not as calm and collected as usual. Poor Kazuma-sama. No wonder he's acting this way. Mr. Vigil's memories of what happened 10 years ago would tell the tale of Genshin Asugi's last moments. His own father. I know, I do understand that. But even so... Prosecutor Asugi. Do you genuinely believe that this question requires an answer in order to learn the truth behind Inspector Gregson's death?
I need you to trust me. Please.
Very well. Then the defense has no objection.
I see. In that case, you will answer the question, witness. The truth is, I remember very little of that time. You've forgotten? I'm sorry to say, yes. As I said, I resigned from my role at the prison 10 years ago. But for some peculiar reason, my memory of the events leading up to that moment is extremely hazy.
Does that not strike you as strange, Mr. Naruhodo? Sorry? Hell, 10 years is a long time, but to have forgotten the reason why he left such an important job. Yes, you're right. And not only that, Mr. Vigil's claim contradicts what we already know.
The human spirit is a fragile thing. It's broken all too easily. Which is why we have a tendency to wrap it up for protection. Sorry, the human spirit. I'm afraid I don't understand what you mean. When we experience pain and suffering that we feel unable to bear, we block it out, obliterate it from our memories, seal it away. But it never truly leaves us. If the seal is broken, memories resurface. And when they do, that fragile spirit may finally be crushed. But I really don't...
Kazuma-sama.
If it must be crushed, then so be it. Because the truth will not stay buried. It's coming out one way or another.
Right. Now I understand. It's clear what his intentions are. He means to expose the truth at any cost. Perhaps if I pointed out the contradiction in what Mr. Vigil claimed earlier, it might cause some crucial memories to return to him. But should I? Should I present the evidence or not? I have no idea how this is going to go. This is a court of law. I have a duty to pursue the truth. Mr. Vigil, I'd like you to look at this. Evidence that clearly contradicts your version of events.
Take that!
Just a few moments ago, you made the following statement. I resigned from my role at the prison 10 years ago.
Oh, well, yes.
In other words, you claim to have left the post of chief warder of your own volition.
Well, yes, of course, and why?
Tell me, do you remember seeing this document before?
No, I don't.
This is a dismissal notice ordering the immediate termination of a prison staff member's employment.
Dismissal notice.
And the name on the notice is yours, Mr. Vigil.
What? It's mine. So you didn't resign from the prison service at all. For some reason, you were dismissed as chief warder from Barclay. No, there's been some mistake. I'm sure I tendered my resignation. This dismissal notice is nonsense. Isn't it? If you were forcibly dismissed, there must have been a good reason. Clearly, you did something. Mr. Vigil, it's time to break the seal and have you remember. According to the few remaining records, the final execution that you supervised was on the 17th of June, 10 years ago. And on that day, something very serious took place at Barclay Prison. The 17th of June.
Was that Professor's execution?
Professor? As you were the chief warder at the time, it stands to reason that you would have been present throughout the proceedings. It does sound familiar. And yet, an execution never took place. Convict ostensibly executed earlier that day later re-emerged from his grave. The convict came back to life.
In the cemetery, in the middle of the night, there was a witness. However, the witness claims that a moment after he saw the convict clambering out of his grave, a gunshot rang out from over his shoulder, and the bullet pierced the professor's chest, killing him instantly. Those may have been the professor's actual last moments.
Yes. Seeing as you were in charge of overseeing executions at the time, you must know the truth about what really happened. It's in your head, somewhere deep down. Well, Chief Warder Daily Vigil, I know there are memories in your head that can explain what happened on the 17th of June 10 years ago. And now it's time for you to drag them up.
Mr. Vigil.
Yes, the whole prison, it was complete chaos. The prisoner escaped. He was killed in the cemetery. The shocking news ripped through Barclay like a hurricane.
What?
Order! do you mean to say, Mr. Vigil, that your memories of the time have returned? Yeah, it's like some floodgates have been opened. The images, the screams.
Oh my goodness.
The papers. There were reports, articles about a man who'd seen a ghost.
Yes, Enoch Trevor.
But surely those reports were exaggerated. There were traces at the scene.
Traces of what?
Lowgate Cemetery and plot number 139. Blood. Lots of blood. That's where the man was buried, of course. Obviously, something terrible had happened there. The depths of conspiracy and depravity from which this tale is emerging are quite staggering. I've reviewed the police records from that time extensively. A thorough investigation was conducted in my Scotland Yard to ascertain how the convict managed to escape in the first place. And the conclusion reached by the investigating team was that a member of the prison staff must have been involved. Are you suggesting that the prison warder abetted the man's bid for freedom? Yes, and I was suspected of doing it. Of using that mass murderer's execution as a way to help him escape.
You did what?
I remember now, the horror of it all is coming back to me. One evening, a few days after the execution, some detectives came to the prison. I was called to the governor's office at the top of the watchtower. I'm sorry, Danley. This is serious business, but I can't help you now. As Chief Warder, you are responsible for overseeing the execution for it. I did not look up a Scottish accent. It seems a fellas of Scotland Yard want to have a few wee words with you about it. You better pack your things, laddie. You're to attend in person. As soon as he told me that, my mind just went completely blank. And the next thing I knew, Professor, the most hated killer in our country's history. And I let him escape. I finished my life. It's over. Oh, goodbye. Jumped out a window. Seemed to have come out of it more or less okay. Order! Bailiff, fetch a doctor at once. Well, physically anyway. Court is adjourned for today with immediate effect.
So, with Mr. Vigil's collapse, proceedings came to an abrupt end for the day. Once again overshadowed by the legacy of that notorious killer, appearing like a cursed ghost ship on a foggy ocean. Lord Van Zeeks, Mr. Vigil, Cosima, and Gregson. All of them bound by invisible chains anchored to the same wreckage in the murky depths of the past. But the miraculous light that had been trying to cut through the gloom and shine on those tragic events was playing on the edges of the truth at last.
All right. Oops. All right. That was interesting. Guess we're getting into more of that. I mean, what else would you be doing? Not sure what else there is to investigate at that point. Gotta talk to the guy some more once he's not, passing out or whatever. I guess we'd go back and talk to the guy at the place. We could look around his room. Can't imagine there'd be all that much left of that there, though. We'll see. We'll see how it goes next time. But that will be all for today. Let's see. Today's Monday. On Wednesday, I was thinking I'd try Celeste. If it works with my controller, I'll have to do a bit of testing for that. I've got the Switch Pro controller because I wanted it for the Switch, and I can hook it up to the computer with the wire, but runs things through Steam. Celeste is on Steam. It does not get along with anything that's not running through Steam. Well, except a couple emulators, which I imagine are intentionally set up to work with it, but it should probably work with Celeste. So I think I'll do that. Wednesday will be Celeste. We'll start it up. I'll play the game. I haven't played it before. What's a fun, different thing to do. Goodness. And then on Friday we'll get back to this. We'll do some investigating. And then, presuming all goes well, after that, next Monday we'll get into another trial. Yeah, that's how things will go. Anything else? No, I don't think so. Have a nice day. Goodbye.